So, gentlemen, let me regale y'all with some of the amazing things that have happened to me. Now, what you're looking at right now is footage from the one and only game that has taken everyone by storm. Now, usually you would assume that the game I'm talking about is place Xbox related because we tend to be Xbox focused and whatnot. But no, this, if you've seen this before, is Helldivers. Helldivers 2, in fact.
Well, it's taken PC by storm, you mean? But yeah, go ahead. Continue.
Exactly. No, that's fine. That's fine. Yes, it's taken PC by storm. But let me be clear here. I am a fan of Helldivers. I'm a huge fan of Helldivers. Why am I a fan of Helldivers? Because it was one of the first games way back when in the day to give you cross entitlement. You bought it on PS3, you got it on Vita, way before anybody even knew it was a thing to have that be a thing, right? And also, it had really good, say, gas elements before gas was even a thing, right? They were ahead of the curve in this instance, right? So when this game was announced, I was like, yo, I'm there day one. Part one was great. I love the isometric shape and all that. And now they're actually going full bore third person shooter. I'm there. Let's go, right? So I go and I purchase this. Now, of course, many of y'all know that I've been on vacation. So I wasn't going to get a chance to play this thing before my vacation. I wasn't going to get a chance to play it on my vacation because it's always all net connected, right? What you're literally seeing all of right now is all the preamble to the actual game starting, right? I sat through this. I'm like, yo, this is amazing. I'm going to start recording footage. What you're looking at is my entire experience with Helldivers.
No.
I have done this like 5 times. This is the time I actually decided to record it. Now, just so you know, the footage is about 20% of the way through. I could keep regaling y'all with more footage, but you would just see this over and over and over and over again. Now, they have my money, but I have not seen a single actual frame of this since it has been released. This is as recently as 2-3 hours ago I recorded this footage.
This is all we got.
I guess what I'm saying is, has anybody else played Helldivers? Because Lord knows I can't. That's where I am with it.
This is all we got for you.
Bruh.
This is it.
Okay.
This is it.
Bro.
I have been trying to play Helldivers for like 3 days now. As y'all know, I came back from vacation. I hear Helldivers is taking over the world. I cannot play the damn game, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I get. Tried it on the handheld, tried it on the PC. Look, as you can see in the corner, I'm getting 300 and something frames per second because it's on the Beast Monster because it's not playing anything.
Ty, what do you got to say about this? Because I haven't purchased it yet. I'm looking to purchase it for the PS5 so I can use the the PS Portal. Have an excuse to use it. Did you purchase this? Have you tried it?
I have not purchased this game. I don't think I'm going to purchase it either, especially with this state of how it is right now. But
man,
I don't know if this is like a good or bad thing, right? Just because, first of all, it's a disaster, I guess you could say, because not many people are getting a chance to play the game. But they came unprepared, and I don't really blame them too much because I don't think anyone expected this game to blow up like this.
That's the thing. I mean,
but you know what? Ahead. Okay, look, I'm sorry. I hear you, Ty. Look. I get it. Okay, and the reason why I give them some crap for this is I'm a technical guy. I work on infrastructure. You have virtual infrastructure. You could scale. Like, yeah, you hit a wall, but then you realize people are playing it, and then you elevate it in the background, and now you have more servers. You don't need to go call somebody, have them build servers from Dell or somebody, and then have them physically bring it to a data center and install the shit. No, man. We are in a new world where it can be done in 20, 30 minutes. You can be scaled up. I know this because this is what I do for a living. What is this BS? I am sick and tired of this.
Let me ask you something. Was there a beta? Was there a beta for this?
I think there was. I thought there was an early. Wasn't there an early period of some sort? I could be wrong. Again, I was on vacation.
I remember hearing about a beta, to be honest.
I don't remember. Okay, that's the thing. That's why I mentioned that because if they came in here unprepared, not expecting the volume and the players, quite frankly, the PC on Steam are really
Yeah.
playing this game. Okay, let's be real here, and that's not a shot on
Mhm.
PlayStation. I promise, but it's just the facts and the data's out there. You know, that came out on Twitter today.
So
You
I
can
just finished my
look at
footage.
the numbers.
Y'all want to watch it again? It's amazing. Maybe
I
this
mean-
time
I mean-
something will
I mean,
happen. I'm
There's
just saying.
nothing there's nothing like looking at an error screen all day, okay? But look, this is the bottom line. I think that this is a blessing and a curse for you because you haven't gotten you haven't really gotten to enjoy the game or get into it. But
this is the number one thing that helps me advocate for. If you want like game preservation, don't be spending money buying things that they're letting you borrow until they decide to take it away, because this is what happens. Right now it's like, woohoo, it's too successful. Wait until they go, well, we're done now. Same thing.
Let's be real
Empty
though.
server.
Let's be real though. Look, there was no hype for this game. At least Ty, did you see hype? Kate, did you see hype? Because I didn't. I
There
didn't
was
really
absolutely
hyped.
nothing.
No,
I
was
think
hype.
even like whenever you talk about like PlayStation's 2024, everyone said it was trash, and I think the fact that this game has done so well just kind of shows you that it's not maybe as bad as people have made it out to be, right?
I mean, from day one, it looked like Star Wars Battlefront with a Starship Trooper skin, which looks amazing. I want to play it. I just have reasons why I haven't indulged it. Which I mean, it sounds like I wouldn't be able to play it even if I wanted to, because if I have the same look as Kay, it doesn't sound too well. But what I'm trying to say, Kay, is that what I think happened here is that they really were not expecting the volume, especially through Steam, to come in like it did. Maybe they were kind of
I get that.
fluctuating their PlayStation numbers, but
Yeah.
I guess just this tidal wave of Steam just came in, and it's like knocking everything off balance, which is a blessing and a curse for PlayStation, because number one, it's a learning experience, you know, for their next gas game that comes out, and number two, hey, who knew that PlayStation was going to release a gas game that actually is pulling in numbers and people are excited to play it? I think it's a win-win for them, even though for the players like yourself, it kind of sucks having to sit there in an error screen.
So let me just say this, two things, right? And then I'll get off of my technical brain high horse. Part one, we are not in the 90s where physical media, physical hardware needs to actually be delivered in order to scale up. You can literally scale up in the background and have more available resources at your disposal at a moment's notice. That's what happens in today's world.
You know
And
what? I know
part
what
two,
happened. I know what happened. Jim Ryan,
that?
he had to take the servers with him because he had some emails he had to take with him. So he took like 2 servers with him, and that's what happened to Helldivers. That's what I think
Like
happened.
seriously, you know, you can no developer worth their bones gets like X amount of resources in the back end and goes, well, that's it. We can't grow anymore. No, that's BS. The more you need, the more you pay, but you can scale and pay. That's one. And two, the people who haven't played yet should be first in line.
I agree.
You shouldn't make somebody who paid for it, who hasn't seen a single frame of the game, wait for 30 minutes to get a chance to play the game for the first time. All things that should be and can be fixed, a little ridiculous. But I'll get off my soapbox now.
Well, I got a question for you about the scaling part, because I get what you're saying. I don't know nothing about tech, so I'm just gonna like default to you. Well, I guess my rebuttal to that would be there's money to be made here, probably millions. So I could see them saying to you, well, what are you talking about? Because we clearly want to make all this money, and you're saying we clearly don't. So I guess the question is like, what excuse do they have that you think is like good enough?
So I think the excuse they have is so what happens in these situations is you basically ballpark to your back-end provider and say, I need X amount of resources, right? And then when you breach that resource, they go, well, if you need extra, it's like, remember back in the day when we used to have minutes on our phones, and they go, you get I don't know, 1,000 minutes, but if you need 1,200 minutes, the extra 200 will cost you more.
You run out of data.
Go, well, it's exactly. You go, okay, all I think I need is 1,200. All I think I need is 1,000. And then when you breach, you have to pay a bit more. That's what's happening here. They don't want to pay extra for going beyond what they initially estimated. So now instead of going extra, they want to rebuild their infrastructure to account for the potential growth, which is fine. Okay. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but in the meantime, since you miscalculated, Stop making the consumers who potentially will keep your gas game going, stop making them suffer. Pay
That's
your
true.
bills so they can keep playing while you're
That's
fixing
true.
things in the background.
And especially you would think that they want to fix this as soon as possible because they want to ride that wave of momentum. And you
Exactly.
know, and
Yes.
it's
And I
look,
am this close from going, you know what? Hey, I
refund.
paid my 40 bucks.
Yeah.
I'm done. Let's just keep it moving. Every time I've wanted to play this game all weekend, you know what I've ended up playing? Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden, because that's been great and it's available anytime I want to play it.
Yeah, I mean, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Ty.
I was gonna say, would you say that Sony needs to step up here, or is it a developer?
Absolutely. This is a publisher problem because the developers, all they need is the cha-ching and they'll increase resources. The publisher, the person with the money in their pocket needs to go, yeah, I allow you to increase those funds, right? And right now they're going, maybe we want to build it the proper way, but people suffer in the meantime, which is not a good look. You know,
sounds
growing
like-
pains. What are you going to do?
Because
You took the
to your
words.
point, John.
Yeah, no, he took the words right out of my mouth. It's called growing pains. You know, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say this, but might lead to the point you were saying that because you were mentioning how this is primarily a PC success as opposed to PlayStation. Do you think, conspiracy-wise, you think PlayStation just doesn't really care too much?
And this is even better. Like Kirby Zero Louise just puts it in the chat. Now I heard about that. Hilariously amazing. They are running on Azure/PlayFab, which is Microsoft's Azure backend. So easily, this is not a situation of, oh, let's go get more hardware and turn it on. And no, they can literally pick up the phone, call their arch nemesis and goes, give more resources. And within seconds, you will have more resources. They're just choosing not to do so.
This looks like it's a AA studio with a AAA audience coming in on the Steam side, and they weren't prepared. And now Sony, since they kind of are new to this,
this is me being salty. You cannot say the word AA when you're talking about Sony. The minute it's a Sony game, AA goes out the window because the same way you can't call
reality.
The same way you can't call Hi-Fi Rush an indie game, you can't call this a AA game. That's simple.
I mean,
would you call Returnal a AA game?
Returnal? No. Well, okay. I would call Returnal a AA game when it was made because it wasn't purchased by them at the time, right? It would be AA in its budget, but it can't be AA in its quality because it's backed by a platform holder, right? You give excuses to a AA studio if they can't really hit that shot because, they're doing the best they can. When you're backed by Sony, all your excuses are gone. When you're backed by Microsoft, I got no excuse for you, right? Well, even if the budget's AA, the quality should be there because you have enough resources.
It's not to give them a pass because at the end of the day, you're unsatisfied as a consumer, and that's on them. But I'm just saying, you know, because technically, like I would be here hosing them, but I'm just thinking, you know, since I'm not affected, I'm gonna wait to get this till everything is running smoothly. I'm just thinking that if this was a Sad Dad simulator, Sony, this would have polish all over it, and Sony would have helped out the studio bringing out a quality product because that's what they're good at. But this whole new gas arena,
they just don't know. They don't know how to work on it.
It's not their expertise. It's going to be a learning experience. Now, here is what is in their control. How fast do they respond? Because the game's been out since I don't know a week already, and these things keep on happening. Customers like you are excited to play the game. We're hearing great things about the game, and if your first experience is an error, we got better stuff to play, man. We'll move on.
The first day or two, if it's having issues, okay. After a week, I got a problem, right? When people were talking about how The Last of Us was looking like crap on PC, everybody was making such a big deal out of it. I was like, pump your brakes, because after 24 hours, it was righteous. After 24 hours, it was good, right? After that, if after 24 hours you're still ridiculous, I got no excuse for you. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. We got 2 super chats that we'll get to eventually, Kay, but let me welcome everyone to, and Kay, I hope right after the show you try one more time and you're able to get in so you can actually play the game you paid for. That would be nice.
Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah.
PlayStation, if you're hearing this, come on, man, help us out here. But I want to welcome everyone on a very special episode. We have a very special guest here. I'll be kind of leading the charge tonight with host duties. My co-host Kay Asante, as always, coming fresh from a hot, hot and warm vacation that he'll tell us a little bit about. And in the chat, we have a special shout out to the handheld king. Sorry, I can't even talk today. Mr. Joanna Dark, MJ Dark, that he kind of shortened his name a little bit. It's his birthday today, guys. Give him a happy birthday wishes and put some cakes in there for the in the chat. But yeah, man, this is episode 26. What we're calling
why did I not know it was Dark's birthday? Come on now, I'm a bad friend. Happy birthday, Dark.
Dude,
Happy
it's the
birthday, sir. That's amazing.
It's the investigator in me, man. That's what I do. So episode 26, guys, officially, we're calling this the new Battlefield because last week everything changed, man. It changed for the better. Who knows? I don't know. I'm still kind of iffy about some decisions that are being made in the world of gaming. I don't know if they're going to turn out to be a good thing or a bad thing, and I'm sure that we all have our own feelings towards this. But let's welcome Kay first. Let me welcome Ty from Ty Talks. Ty, it's been a while since I've been with you on a show. I know you were with Kay Asante recently on the Gaming Circle podcast, but welcome back, man. We really look forward to hearing your thoughts. What are you playing? What have you been up to? How's your YouTube channel doing, man? Give us a scoop on all this, man.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me once again, guys. I really appreciate it. Games I've been playing. So I don't know if you guys heard of 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. It's a vanillaware game. And it's good. It's like a typical JRPG game, JRPG tropes. I've stopped playing it just because it's kind of overdoing its stay right now. So you take control of 13 different characters, and 13 is quite a lot. So maybe you have like 7 that are really good, interesting, then you have the other guys who are not so interesting. So I'm kind of in that little position where the guys who I'm kind of controlling now are not particularly interesting to play as. So I'm just kind of taking a break and just playing FIFA, Smash Bros, the multiplayer games.
Nice.
Nothing else is special. So
nice. What ecosystem or console is taking up most of your days?
Xbox.
Nowadays?
It's always Xbox.
Xbox.
Moment.
Okay.
Xbox with Game Pass. Yeah.
Nice, man. Nice. Hey, Kay, how you doing, man? I know you're back from Everborn's wedding. I saw some pictures, man, that Everborn posted. It looks like you guys had a great time. I know you came back with a nice tan. You want to tell everybody about the you came back.
What are we talking about here?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Hold on, we lost him. Did we lose him? Okay, look, he's gone just like that. I told you.
I'm your co-host now, man.
Oh, you're my co-host.
Apologies, now. I'm back. Yeah, my connection was acting up, but I'm back.
No, you went incognito on us. But Kay, what are you up to, man? Besides not playing Helldivers 2, and tell us about the trip you went on, man. I hope you're relaxed. What else have you been doing with tech stuff, man?
So went to Dominican Republic over the week, last week, to go hang out, represent for the man, Mr. Everborn Saga. He got married. Really cool. Obviously, if you follow us on social, you probably saw some photos. He's been posting things. Great ceremony, great atmosphere, great country. Really enjoyed myself. Spent a buttload of money, so don't ask me for nothing. I got no money left. It is what it is. But on vacation, obviously, as we do, you take the handheld with you. You do some handheld gaming. So while I was on vacation, I played a lot of Prince of Persia. Maybe folks saw me online. I use the X-Real glasses because you don't want to be on vacation. You got your glasses on. You're playing your game. Nobody even sees your gaming, but there's a screen as large as, I think it was 300 and something inches in front of you, and you're just like playing.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
So I enjoyed that. It's pretty impressive. Let me tell you.
Been playing Blaze Blue Atrophy Effect, which I talked about on GCP over the weekend. Really interesting combination of different genres, but it's that small, Metroidvania, roguelite type genre that's been fused together. Pretty cool. Having a good time with that. And then the aforementioned Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden.
That looks cool.
That looks really good. Really cool. Like, I'm really, really enjoying that game. Believe it or not, I initially started because I bought Helldivers first before I went on vacation. So when I came back, I was like, well, you know what? I'll play that first, get into that a little before I get into Banishers. And then, of course, it kept giving me those screens, right? So I'm like, I guess I might as well just jump into the single player game first. And man, like my question is, why have nobody copied this style before? It's basically the storyline, the seriousness of the tone of the story is kind of like Focus's other game. What is the name of the Requiem?
Tales Requiem?
Now, of course.
Oh,
Yes, exactly.
a Plague
A
Tale.
Plague Tale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very deep story, right? But the moment to moment and the gameplay is 2.5 a God of War.
Nice.
Basically
That's
is what it is, right? It's 2.5 a God of War. As Jesse Norris on the Xbox era says, it's tickling the nethers of the AAA game. It's just tickling it a little bit.
It's right there.
You can see where they lost a little bit of resources or potentially like did not go all the way there, right? The combat takes a while to really get deep and intricate. It starts off kind of simplistic, but this is a game where you're playing it for the next part of the story because the story is really deep and really good, like really good.
You know
Like,
who Focus
Mhm.
reminds me of, like in this generation? They remind me of THQ. That
I was just
Nordic
gonna say the
section
same thing.
When
Yes, they are the new THQ. Yep.
yeah, when they were bringing out Darksiders, and then you're like, man, this game is like incredible.
Mhm.
This is like a AA Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and
Yeah.
during those 360 days, I remember
Yep.
that's what they're reminding me of. I mean, they're bringing out fire games, man. They're doing
Absolutely.
really, really good.
So I will tell you, I first loaded up Helldivers, and then I loaded this up. Helldivers has 90 minutes because that's how long it's taken me. Just my patience for every time I look at the loading screen. For Banishers, I'm 10 hours and 7 minutes in.
Wow,
I love that game. It's really
Nice.
good. Like very, very good. If anybody has a chance to pick this up, it's not even expensive. I think it's like $40 or something, like $40-50. It's not like it's not $70 budget. Yeah, it's $50 on Steam. It's not like high budgeted game, and like it's its own genre. Like it is almost a God of War like, if you will. And I'm talking like new style God of War, not old style God of War.
That's
Dad Simulator style God of War with
Yeah.
serious story and thick, heavy combat. It's quite good. I really enjoy it.
Would you say
That's
it's like
cool.
more similar to like a Plague's Tale or God of War?
I would say the story is closer to a Plague's Tale. The seriousness of the tone, the seriousness with which the characters are put together. They have a very grounded, because God of War is very supernatural and whatnot. There's some supernatural elements here as well, but it's a very grounded tale. The people are very much grounded. It's about it's a love story between two people, right? At the heart of it, there's a love story there, and it's very, very, very interesting in its delivery of the humanity of it. But then the combat starts, and you're like, "Yep, this is God of War," right?
Yeah, I
The
saw
way the
Everborn.
camera
He put a little
Mhm.
intimate moment between the characters there in our private chat. I was like, whoa, what type of game is this? Okay.
Hey now, yes. So like just the elevator pitch for what the type of game it is. Banishers. It's based in 1700s New England, right? And Banishers are basically ghost hunters. That's what Banishers are. They come to your town. Because in that world, when someone dies and dies violently, or there's some business left unsaid or undone, sometimes a ghost cannot leave, right? So they stay there and they haunt whatever unfinished business they're about, and they cause havoc in the real world. So these Banishers come and they are detectives. 1600s, forgive me, 1600s. I see Flood is in the chat. Forgive me, sir. So the Banishers show up and they will help you basically, like they are detectives, figure out who died, why they died, why they're haunting you, and then at the end decide what to do with you. Either you banish them, meaning you send them to hell violently, you ascend them, which you help them solve their problem,
Sounds
give
like
them closure,
Van
and
Helsing a little bit, right?
kind of,
Van
it's kind of, yeah. Or the third option is something has happened, and I won't spoil it. Something's happened, so you could potentially do something that's self-serving in your choices, and all of it matters to the end of the game. It's quite good. Like, people should play it. It's very, very good. This is like award deserving. Very good. It's very good.
Nice.
I really, really like it. Yeah.
Do you
Nice,
find the
man.
moral questions like interesting? Like, is it well written? I don't know if you've gone that far though.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. So like the idea being most of the time, and I've had like two moral choices so far, and it's very moral choice heavy. I find that usually it's like, do you side with the living, do you side with the dead, or do you side with yourself? Right. And more often than not, I'm the kind of guy that when I play Mass Effect, I try not to be that asshole. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that guy. You know what I mean? But you could potentially be that guy here in this game. So you're always like teetering on the decision process of, am I going to take this dude out? Am I going to do it for myself? Or is this going to be altruistic? Am I going to follow the story? I tend to follow the story, but it's super interesting. I haven't gotten to the end yet, so I don't know if it'll all add up to what I think it's going to add up to, but it seems quite cool. It's at least, from what I'm seeing so far, it's at least worth playing 3 times because
Wow.
each time you play has a different potential result.
That's cool. That sounds really
High
good.
praise.
Yeah, I mean that's
It's
pretty
really
high
cool.
praise,
It's cool.
and you're about 10 hours into it, and it sounds like you're digging it. So maybe the
Absolutely,
Helldiver situation is actually a blessing. You see, so okay, we got we got 2 super chats, and then I'll let you guys know what I've been doing recently. We got Kirby Zero Louise, man, who's always here every week. We appreciate it. $5. True, but to be frank, some of those Vita, PS3, PS4 crossbuy games were something on the Vita. I mean,
Hey,
for
man.
for the piece of hardware that it was, I liked it, man.
It was before its time, right?
Yeah.
And they were letting you buy one copy, and you were getting the other copies as part of the one copy you bought.
Yeah.
Very
That was-
un-PlayStation like back in
that
those
was-
days. You know,
That was a Sean Layden led
Yeah.
initiative, and I loved it. And there's a
I
lot
bought
of
a
people,
bunch of PlayStation games because
Right?
of that, because of the fact that I could just pick it up on my Vita. Had the same save, had the same progression. It was great. Yeah.
I mean,
it was great.
they were the ones who did the cloud as well for us, wasn't they? And they also did the
Yes, they did.
subscription services.
Absolutely. Yes,
they were
yes.
quite innovative back then.
Yeah.
And then,
They very much
Absolutely.
were. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's and the thing is that that's when we get into it later about what we're going to discuss, the hunger. The hunger brings out these initiatives, you know what I'm saying, and these pro consumer moves, and that's something that we'll touch up on. We got another $5 super chat from BT Maverick 707, a familiar name, K, that I see every week. Someone give Arrowhead Studios the Starship Troopers license. Agreed 100%. What about you, K?
I actually don't think they need it. I think they've done so well so far. They don't need it. Like they really like, and I'm sure they could get it if they wanted to, because like if you've read recently, the news has come out that with the success of this game, a lot of Starship Troopers are being like the movies being downloaded, like Blu-rays are being bought, DVDs are being rented now, more to watch that because of this. So I'm sure if they went and they went, can we have that IP? The owners of the IP would be like, hell yeah, take it, do it now, because you're basically giving them more money. But I think they've done so well, even in the tongue-in-cheek way that they've set it up. They could just kind of ride it out. They don't need to pay a license fee for Starship Troopers.
Have any of you
their
played
clone is good enough?
Have any of you played the official first-person shooter game
yeah.
that came out? I haven't played it yet. Is that any good?
I have played the original, like Starship Trooper. It's not as good as this.
Okay.
It's not as good as this. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right.
Well, it was a bit of a cash grab at the time.
Well, I mean,
licensing. I was just gonna. I'm never really a fan
Please.
of companies trying to get like a license, to be honest, because I never really understand why you'd want to give so much money away.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at Baldur's Gate, and for me, Larian could have easily made Divinity Original Sin 3. That could have been Baldur's Gate 3,
which was
game. Pretty much the exact same thing, but because they took the license, they've had to fork over 100 million to
but
entity, right?
To the flip side of that though, like Divinity Original Sin 1 was amazing. Divinity Original Sin 2 was insane. Nobody saw or gave a shit until they put Baldur's Gate on it. And then the same game, because that's what Divinity Original Sin is. It's literally Baldur's Gate.
But I'll say this,
same game.
Baldur's Gate, I don't think it has that much weight in terms of popularity.
Well, it's not even the Baldur's Gate necessarily that was the license getter. It's the D&D thing. It's the Dungeons and Dragons IP part. That's the part that kicked it into the stratosphere. Even though, let's be
you get the
real,
lore, the
Divinity 1 and
nostalgia,
2,
you get all that
yeah,
stuff there.
Divinity 1 and 2 basically did exactly the same thing, but they couldn't call it D&D, right? That IP, the name carries a lot of weight. Look at Spider-Man, you know, look at all those other games that are really doing numbers on the other platforms.
But even
right?
at that though, you know, you don't own what you can control, right? So I think we saw some reports that Tencent was looking to buy. Like if Tencent buys that, then it's gone. You know, if somebody buys
that's it. Yes.
D&D, then you know, Baldur's Gate 3 is gone. Like you're gonna give to somebody else to make.
If Microsoft says, you know what, screw you guys, we're going for broke. Here's $1 billion. All of a sudden, Spider-Man ends up on Xbox, and you can't do nothing about it, Sony. It's a thing, right? Licensing is a thing, and you don't believe it? Ask MLB. You know, it's a thing. It really is. So I completely agree with you, Ty. Like that's the reason why Microsoft has been reluctant to do their own licensing thing. But then, of course, the people go, we need that licensing thing. You know, you can never win, really.
It's really a balancing act, because you do like the advantages of licensing is that it carries like a huge fan base with it, right? That you hope that carries over. Look at Harry Potter. Look at Hogwarts. How well it sold last year, the best-selling game, carrying off the back of the Harry Potter name. You know, so that studio could have made a fantasy game, and it probably would have been fantastic. But that Harry Potter name weighs. It brings a lot of people with it and a lot of eyeballs. And I think that's kind of like why some studios, I guess, are so gun ho on, hey, this is great. Look at this other studio that got the Marvel license. Was it last year or the year before with the Marvel Midnight Suns? I think it was the year before.
Last year.
I mean, the genre of game, it didn't help it because of the genre, but I'm sure that game would have sold a lot more than just if they would have made a generic, you know, what are people asking for? I'm blanking
XCOM.
on the name right now. XCOM, you know, I'm sure it sold better than an XCOM would have. So I don't know, man. It goes hand in hand. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It needs to be kind of like the perfect storm, you know.
I think it makes sense for like when Sony's doing it, I think it makes sense. When a third party publisher is doing it, I think it makes sense as well. When Xbox is doing it, I'm a little bit iffy on that, just because I don't know if they have the console numbers to make up to make it worth their while, especially with Disney.
Oh man, you're kind of going ahead here, man. Because we'll get there because and walk it back, because I put a pin on this, because I am going to ask you pertaining to licensing and Indiana Jones, for example, and kind of like the direction that Microsoft is in right now, right? We have okay, you want to read this from Mr. J Dark here? Oh, my bad.
Well, yeah, J Dark, member for 1 month. One of our first members who's been a consistent. Thank you, sir. He says, K, are you a level 4 PlayStation Stars member? You need to be okay at Helldivers. Also, this wouldn't happen on the Switch. The best handheld. # Legion Go is better than the ROG Ally. This man is just in one tweet trying to just like cause one message, trying to cause all sorts of havoc. I understand you, sir. To that, I will say, no, it definitely wouldn't happen on the Switch, because on the Switch, you could only play locally. There is no real online play. So yeah, you know, it is what it is. What are you going to do?
There wouldn't be enough people to even fill up a server, right? So
yeah, you know.
So and we got Umbra, of course, coming in, chiming in right after a bunch of lies. Thank you so much.
Bunch of lies. Yep.
So gentlemen, we got a stacked show tonight, and what I mean by that is that let's get in the trenches of this conversation. What I thought of that I would like to have a conversation with you two gentlemen today, and that's this new battlefield that is basically being laid out right in front of our eyes. You have PlayStation Hiroki Totoki coming out last week and saying that basically they need to make more money, so they're looking to go cross-platform. Xbox, of course, having the podcast event that they had on Thursday, Phil coming on and saying that they're looking to push the envelope a little bit more to get more sales, to get more exposure on the brand. Different moves that these companies are making. And you have Nintendo announced today that they're bringing out a partner direct, where they're basically going to show you what's coming in 2024 from their partners. So a lot is what I'm seeing in the industry right now is a lot of focus on expansion. Okay, we're working together. I'm seeing a lot of hand in hand here, kumbaya, kumbaya from these companies. Xbox apparently playing nice with PlayStation and Nintendo. Nintendo saying, "Hey, look at all our partners that are going to come to the showcase," and the Sony dude is basically saying, "Hey, PC gamers, we want you. We you're our best friends now." So everybody's holding hands at the moment. Nobody has a knife at each other's throats. Ty, let me start with you. Me and Kay and our group, we've been discussing this Microsoft Fallout for a little over a month already. Realistically, since December, to be honest with you, so close to 2 months and a half already. Tell me what you think about the podcast, what was said, your overall thoughts. Do you think that this is a great idea by Xbox? Do you think that they shot themselves in the foot? Tell me your overall thinking of what Xbox, what is their vision? What are they going for here?
When you said kumbaya, like that is kind of what it seems like, right? Everyone seems to be getting along, and I guess when I think about it that way, the first thing that really comes to my mind then is like they're only doing it because they can obviously make some type of money. Like that just makes sense. So, I think the fear from a lot of people that I've spoken to is this idea that the the drive that has led us to the current landscape having all these amazing games is going to be affected. And I've asked a lot of people this question and they haven't really been able to give an answer as to why, like if the value or the quality is going to go down. um so it's a major shift, 100%. But I don't really think it's a bad one, and I give Microsoft some credit here just because at first you could look at it and say they're doing it because they're in last place, so they don't really have a choice. But at the same time, maybe they're just being proactive. Maybe like they actually know exactly where the industry is going. So we as consumers, we have a particular idea of how we want things to play out. But as far as they're concerned, the data doesn't match what we're saying. And I think that's something that I guess I say I respect them for, right? In relation to the actual the podcast, I'm not too sure why they went for that format. To be honest, I didn't think it was going to make sense. I think it would have just been better if they just sat down and just spoke, said whatever they needed to say. But nothing really happened and nothing changed. I feel it's just like the status quo. So when people left there feeling somewhat happy, it's really coming off the back of the fact that everyone thought like Game Pass was going to get maybe canned in some way. Call of Duty wasn't going to appear in Game Pass. I never thought that was going to be happen. I never thought that was going to happen in the first place. So for me, the podcast didn't really do much. It's the status quo. Like we have confirmation that 4 games are going across. Initially, I thought that was a problem, but now I see where they're coming from. It doesn't really matter too much. I guess the question is, does it really devalue the console if something like Hi-Fi Rush ends up on a different platform? And the answer is probably no. Does it devalue the console if Sea of Thieves appears on PlayStation? While I'm not a fan of that one because I think they're direct competitors, I think it doesn't hurt the console, but it doesn't hurt the brand. In fact, I actually think it helps these brands. I think Hi-Fi Rush gets a huge boost. I think Sea of Thieves gets a huge boost, and if Starfield ever goes over, like in a few years or whatever, that gets a huge boost as well. So while I'm not too happy, no, sorry, what I'm not too I'm not exactly pleased with what's going on. I will say that I'm not too concerned either. I think Xbox is making the smart plays here, so I can't really critique them. Every decision that they're making is based on some data that we just are not privy to. So in that sense, you know, I don't think it's going to hurt the industry in any way, shape, or form. I think it's probably going to make it. It's probably going to make things better. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the podcast.
I got you. So Kay, I'll get back to you, Ty, in a second. Kay, let me ask you this: you've had a week to kind of digest kind of like the landscape and kind of I don't know how many times you've listened to the podcast or you have read the Xbox wire thread and stuff like that. After a week, are you the same on what you were feeling before? Do you feel differently about it? Has anything changed? Are you still kind of like level set where you're like, hey, you know what? Let's just let it be. You know what I'm saying? Let's let it ride out. Let's see where this goes. Let's take them for their words on last Thursday, and then progressively see where this goes. Where are you at, Kay, with this?
So for me, honestly, and I would say I'm right where Ty is. When this whole thing became what it became, I was like, watch out, because what's happening is happening, right? Uh, you don't make these moves, you don't head in this direction, and then people yell about it, and you go, oh, never mind, and you go completely like sit back down, right? Even in the world where Xbox One, right, OG Xbox One, got completely ripped apart, and all their quote unquote plans were pumped, were stopped. Where are we now? Everything they wanted to accomplish was ultimately still accomplished. They just did it in a very slow and concerted effort. You weren't paying attention when it was done. They were trying to rip the Band-Aid off initially and also give you some things, right? They were planning on doing some ambitious things, and they realized that the consumer base wasn't ready for it, right? After all the backlash. So they pumped their brakes. They went status quo for a little while, and then little by little, they started ripping the Band-Aid off. And like frogs in boiled water, we didn't notice it until it was too late. We turned around, and now we're in the DRM world we were fighting against, right? Mm-hmm. But as Ty was saying, these guys are clairvoyant because everybody's there, not just them, right? They see this stuff happening. The question is, how can they capitalize on it and let it become a thing that they can capitalize on? Instead, they usually move too fast, move too open. They don't use the skills of messaging that others have been able to learn. And as such, they get all the arrows, and then right behind them, someone else comes in and does exactly the same thing and gets no problem, right? That's literally what's happening to them here. The Absolutely. Number one thing that happened to them that was completely saving them, like their saving grace, was Totoki-san coming out saying, by the way, because if that wasn't the case, arrows would have been abound, right?
It would have been a lot worse. It would have been
arrows abound. Exactly, because when you are not the market leader, you don't get to dictate terms. At least that's the idea that the consumers think, right? To the normal consumer, hey, the leader gets to determine how the game is played, not the follower, right? But what we need to understand is the $1 trillion company's barometer of success is completely different than yours. Correct. Right? The idea that, oh, they're going kumbaya, it's because there's more money in kumbaya. They don't give a crap about your fighting your recess fight back and forth. Nintendo don't. Like, none of that makes any sense. It only makes sense if it gets them to the destination, which is separating you from your coin, right? And they've realized, much like Jay-Z and Nas did in the 90s, if we work together, we can get everybody's money instead of fighting against each other. Because if we release our albums on the same day, we get half the cash. If we time it out, I release mine, I get all the attention. You release yours later, you get all the attention. Where does the money go? We get it all in each other's pockets without having to share, without having to split it. That's what they're doing right now. They're turning adversaries into partners because they know that when they are partners, then everybody can eat, including them, right? And they might even get the benefit of your adversary because now they're not your adversary anymore. You're helping them succeed and they're helping you succeed. Now, you and I, us graybeards, will see that and go, no, that's not where we want. We've wanted them to fight forever. And they're looking down on you saying, I am freaking Zeus. With my small hand, I can literally strike you dead. Why should I care about anything you care about? You will buy what I sell, even if it's on PlayStation, right? And if you're not one of those people who won't buy on PlayStation, then you won't even notice that it's there. Because guess what? A lot of people still don't even notice that Game Pass exists, right?
Right.
So
right.
while John Wolf might get in his feels, while some others might get in their feels, they have taken the realization that you guys, us, we are not the future. We are the past. We are the ones that the off ramp needs to be built for. We're the ones that you need to kind of coddle until all of a sudden we're too old and senile to make a difference, and our kids will just kind of take over, right? So I took this whole situation, the podcast, as it was super useful for the graybeards to make their presence known, because if you don't do that, then it'll happen in the dead of night and you won't even recognize it, right? And they might lose the business before they transition, right? So it is important to keep the graybeards happy. So now we're slowing things down. But if you think that they stop at 4, I have a bridge to sell you.
Absolutely.
If you think that's all there is to it, you're absolutely nuts. Look at Helldivers 2. That was the day when PlayStation went third party day and date on PC, because the money's on the table and they see it now. Same token will be the day when PlayStation gets Sea of Thieves, it sells so well. You think they won't bring others? Oh, hell yeah, they will. Look into a mirror right now, dear console warrior graybeard, and start crying a tear for the day you see the Halo multiplayer icon on PlayStation, because that day will happen. Whether you're alive or not, I don't know, but it will happen.
I'm with you. I think it's coming because, like, and the thing is about like the whole podcast and everything, Kay, if you really listen to kind of like the sequence of events when Phil is kind of saying the reasons why they're putting these 4 particular games on, he said that it's 4 specific reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
We will never know what the real reason is. But one thing that we do know is that it's money driven. Okay. Yep. It is 100% money driven, but money driven because Microsoft is being greedy here, or money driven because they recognize that unless these particular 4 games that they're using as a test don't pan out, those studios may be in trouble. Their next projects may be in trouble, because what Phil kind of used as a, I don't want to say he used it as a crutch, but what he did mention right after when he was explaining what it is that they're doing is that he mentioned the industry and the health of the industry and the health of Xbox. If this is what I'll tell anybody that's a fan of gaming that is still hung up on this, it still hasn't, the sequence hasn't still, the frequencies are still out of whack here. Would you rather, as a gamer, have no Hi-Fi Rush 2 for the sake of saying it's an Xbox exclusive, or would you have a Hi-Fi Rush 2 and they have to put it multi-platform? As a gamer, so your answer should be, okay, that you want a sequel to that game.
So, but here's where I will defend the consumer a little bit, right? Because we've seen this happen a time and time again, right? Whenever Sony buys an IP or buys a publisher, or, well, not a publisher, but like a developer, right? Is the question, will that come elsewhere? No, because day and date, it's a wrap. That's what they do. They've always trained their consumers to expect, hey, this is what's going to happen, right? Why I defend the consumer a bit here is Xbox has not had that consistency of messaging.
Absolutely.
Right? And because they haven't had that consistency of messaging, it's difficult for a consumer to just to get exactly what Xbox is doing. And there's always well, I don't believe them. Well, I don't, right? Because they've never had the chance to be consistent. And it looks to me, and this is complete hyperbole on my part, this is complete speculation on my part, it looks to me that the problem that befell them here was they took too much of grandpa's money, right? Like, for a long time, they've been on the margins at Microsoft doing what they do, but they've been Xbox within Microsoft, and they've just been doing what they do. And because of that, you can write your own ship, right? You succeed or you fail on your own steam, right? I was saying this to, I think I was talking to you, John, about this. When Phil Spencer was in the job that Sarah Bond is in now, Was there any question that Phil was making any of those decisions? Absolutely, he was. Nobody will deny that Phil Spencer basically either sunk the ship or saved that ship single-handedly in his position as the leader.
He called the shots 100%.
He called the shots,
and he's still calling the shots somewhat.
Yes,
somewhat.
But now with Sarah Bond in that position, can anyone say the same? Hell no, they can't say the same. Anyone will, the best they'll give her is, oh, she knows how to deliver the message well, because you know that the decisions are no longer in their hands at all. Like at all. It's about advocating for what you want and then delivering the message depending on how the chips fall. It's not in your purview anymore. You are no longer the leader of that ship because guess what? You borrowed grandpa's money, right? $70 billion is not something you can borrow and then all of a sudden just kind of go back to status quo. I'm sorry, Ty, you were saying.
I was going to say, would you say, like, I get what you're saying with grandpa's money, but would you also say it probably has to do with 2023? Because maybe at some point Microsoft is looking at it saying 2023 is going to be our biggest year. I thought it was probably going to be one of the biggest year, right? You know, they got some good Game Pass titles there. They got Atomic Hearts, they got Lies of P. Then you have, you have Forza, you have Minecraft, and then you have the biggest game of the year, which is biggest game of the generation, Starfield. I think the fact that Starfield was supposed to be not the biggest game of the year for them, but generation, it's probably supposed to be in their minds. It's probably supposed to be like their best selling game, like in this generation, and that probably didn't bring in enough Game Pass subs. Probably didn't sell enough.
I will be fair. To be fair though, when as the chips have fallen, like, and depending on what circles you talk to, you know, what circles you listen, some people will say either it was amazing and others will say it wasn't that amazing. It charted even though it was on a subscription service day one.
It was on fire.
It charted like in the top 5 consistently, even though it was in the subservice day one, right? And it was on Steam during that preview phase, which means everyone that paid during that preview phase paid at least $100 for it, even though you could have paid just $18, $16, that would have been part of the subservice. So I honestly think it did do what they wanted it to do. Obviously, had it not been on the subservice, it would have done more because that's just math, right? But I don't think Starfield is the unfortunate tale that people think it is. What I do think though, where you're right, what I do think though is as soon as they had more execs in the room, and by more execs, I mean ABK brings a whole bunch of execs, right? Before they had those execs in the room, the beginning, middle, and end was Phil's vision. Yes, we're sacrificing a bit of sales now, but we're getting cachet. We're getting people to know our brand for what it is. And oh, these are the things that are there. Oh, we'll put it on Game Pass day one and we'll quote unquote, you don't see me now, but I'm doing really high air quotes, quote unquote, cannibalize our sales because our metric of success isn't necessarily cash, because cash money, when you're done, you turn around, you're done. If you turn into a Game Pass subscriber, now you're a person that's in our ecosystem for the long haul. So they were using that as a calling card to get people to the promised land, which was their Game Pass sub. But here's the thing, real quick. What I think changed here though is as soon as ABK is in the mix, now all of a sudden you are no longer the sole captain whose word is believed anymore, right? And even though your vision is righteous, there's a people on the other side that can now say, look, our business model has worked great forever. Look at COD. It sells so much every single year, right? And it's made us profitable, super profitable. Justify why our business model is better or less good than yours. And I think, personally, a lot of that back and forth internal debate has shortened Phil's timeline, has forced him to now turn into a money man because there are too many money men in the room and his vision is no longer the only one that is being brought forward.
It's that we've talked about it a lot, Ty, and I wish that you were in on those conversations, which, by the way, anybody out there, and Ty, for yourself, I don't think you're part of our Discord. Please
Join the
our
Discord.
Discord.
Sure.
We have discussions like the ones we're having here almost on a daily basis, guys. Honestly, we do. We have a lot of great
Mhm.
community members. Here's the thing, right? And I think that we need to start listening to, for example, when Phil has spoken in the past, I've really analyzed everything that has happened here, and I've looked internally because Kay Asante, not only as my co-host but as my friend, has kind of recommended that I do that. Right? Look internally, because when I did that with the Steam Deck and I gave it a second chance, it made a difference. Where I love the Steam ecosystem, the Steam Deck, PC gaming. That's where I'm at now. It's my primary. Still love Xbox. I of course I do. It's the ecosystem that from all of them is my preferred, but Steam has really pulled me away because of the just the synergy that they've created, which I think that's where Xbox, that's the synergy that Xbox is trying to replicate here, in my opinion. Right? I could be wrong, but the thing is that when Phil has spoken, I went back and I listened to the interview with Kind of Funny. I listened to various other podcasts that he's been on throughout the various years. There have been hints that this is the direction that they're going all along. And
Sure.
people like me, because I'm to blame here, I am the traditional console warrior where I want them to battle with Sony wits for wit. And there's no excuse. There was no excuse in my head. After you've acquired all this, how are you not even going to try to outsell them in the console space? That's my biggest hangup that I had as these rumors started swirling around. I was upset at that.
Yeah.
I was genuinely disappointed in them, and not because it's a moral win for the console warrior for myself that I'll have bragging rights. Sure, yeah, of course we'll have bragging rights, but even more than that, as a gamer, I buy everything. I have a PSVR 2. You guys know everything I have. So I was genuinely worried that by them bowing back and bowing down and telling PlayStation, listen, we're out of this avenue. You guys can go at it. We just can't do it. We're not going to be able to compete with you in this space through the console for console. Sony's just going to go run buck wild, and me as a consumer, I'm going to pay for it. Of course, my mind has changed, through the various talks that we've had, because that's a little gun ho-ish of people to jump to that conclusion so fast, because we gotta let things play out, right?
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that when you really sit back and you really analyze everything that's being said here, and you forget about just looking at Xbox and PlayStation. When you take a look at the gaming landscape, what these companies, what they are trying to achieve is to make more money. That's a given. It's business. How do you get more money when you've already reached the ceiling? You got to think outside the box, and you have to go after a different player base. You could take market share from each other, like the old way that I'm used to, and that many of us graybeards are used to. Xbox can chip away at PlayStation's console base, but it's very apparent to me that from everything that's been said by Phil, that is not the battle that Microsoft, the company, wants Xbox to win. That's not the battle. That's not the war that they're after. The war that they're after is what I'm calling now the next level of console war 2.0, the ecosystem wars.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, why am I saying that? I'm saying that because just like me, I'm sure that there's others out there. Okay, I know this doesn't apply to you but it still does to me, because I'm fairly new in the PC space. And Ty, when you eventually go PC, maybe you'll feel some of this at first, and then you'll open up your horizons. You can literally put a game for sale on Steam, not for sale on Steam, I'm sorry, and put it for sale on Epic, and I'd rather buy it on Steam because of what they created in their space, in this PC world, what they've created, the synergy that I'm talking about. I think that this is what Xbox is after. This is Xbox 2.0 that we're looking at. Not to mention that what they have done within the industry has never been done before. They're creating a whole new pathway here. Never before has one of these console manufacturers gone out and bought two of the biggest publishers and completely wiped them off the board. Sony, of course, when they started PlayStation, they bought a bunch of developers and they money had it stuff to get themselves. Granted, they did it in a lower scope of way of doing it. But Xbox here, what they've done is they transcended to now being one of the biggest publishers in gaming, period. But they also have the responsibility of being a hardware manufacturer. So how do they balance that, right? And there's a balancing act that we should have expected, especially people like me. We should have expected this. We should have expected that for them to get Blade as an exclusive, if they have to port it over to PlayStation, as much as I didn't want that, it just needs to happen if they need to meet the sales or whatever the case it may be. It's just the new world that we're living. PlayStation is bending the knee. They're bending the knee as well. So they're going to be putting their games probably day and date now. So if one company is heading in one direction and the other one is not, I think that it's fair to say, guys, that this is what we're looking at in the landscape. PlayStation is going to have to figure out next how to get people to kind of be involved within their ecosystem, because Hiroki Totoki is already talking about we need to broaden our horizons. And Ty, I'll give you some time now. You can kind of digest what me and Kay have talked about and chime in on anything you want to kind of answer.
No, you guys are 100% right. Phil, if you look back, as you said, if you look back, Phil has been saying this for years now. There's no denying that. And I think one thing I'll say is, for me, I think the change really happened when they went for ABK, because of all the companies you could have bought, you could have taken a Capcom, you could have taken Sega, you could have taken an EA, because these publishers are primarily console kind of games, right? Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Sonic. But you went for ABK, you went for King, you went for Diablo, you went for Call of Duty, you went for all these live service games, which doesn't make sense to pull them away from your competitor. So as soon as that happened, it was quite clear that, like, hey, listen, they're actually probably looking to go into a maybe more like a third party / console maker situation. What I will say is, like, I know, like, Kay, you said that you don't really think 2023 was the reason why, or Starfield was. I get you on that point. I still look back at the Starfield numbers and I think 13 million players since December. And I don't know if that really matched what they were looking for. Just because, if you look at it from a European perspective as well, right? I think that exact same month, Xbox consoles didn't actually outsell PlayStation. So your biggest game in one of the biggest marketplaces comes out, and your rival has nothing that month, and they still outsell you. And we know in Japan, Xbox didn't sell anything there. So it's only really in the US where Starfield probably really like picked up a lot of steam, and Xbox consoles were being sold. And then we see, the financial report, and they say, hey, listen, console sales.
Hi. Let me throw something else in there for you, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'll let you finish now.
Go ahead.
I want everybody to understand something. The Series S was on sale throughout the holiday for $139 in the United States, and they still couldn't outsell the other two. Let that kind of sink in.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And they're looking at those numbers and they're saying consoles didn't sell. We had the biggest game of our generation come out. That didn't do the numbers. Game Pass was, I think 2023 Game Pass was amazing. Like, there was so many good games. I was always on this fence of, like, Game Pass is cool, it's not really going to do anything much. But when 2022 came out, I'm looking at all those lists of games. It's insane. And the fact that, like, Game Pass didn't.
Can I be the one that pushes back a little bit?
Oh, go ahead.
I'll push
please.
back a little bit on that, because the reason I'll push back on that is because you're talking about a piece of content that's meant to be that's meant to sell this hardware, right? What do you call them? Bethesda games have historically not been console games, right? They've been on consoles, but they've been historically PC games, right? Your Skyrims, your Fallouts, all of them. Yes, they make a big splash on console, and they have, but by and large, their long tail tends to be on PC when they're fixed through mods later. Because when they start, only mods will help them survive. So more often than not, they tend to be popular on PC, right?
Okay.
If you look at the numbers, right, the hardware didn't sell much. Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But their profit margin was through the effing roof, which is what they were looking for. If you were looking for hardware sales, yeah, your barometer, they failed. But they don't give a crap about that. That's like saying, well, you need a spoon to eat the rice, so we're paying attention to spoon sales, but the rice is gone. Whether they poured it through their mouth or they bought the rice or not, the rice is gone. They got all your money. They didn't, and they didn't. They didn't need you to buy into their hardware in order to get all your money. Because more often than not, if they are not getting the console sales, but they are getting the profits from the game sales, from the game department, that means they got subscriber counts, right? And by and large, they got subscriber counts based on whatever hardware they already had, which to Microsoft is a win. Because if you had to buy their $350 hardware or $150 during Black Friday, do you know how much you cost them? I keep saying this. Just the chip alone in the Series S costs $350. Imagine selling the whole console for $150. That is putting them in a hole. You have to buy many games before they have a profit on you, right? But if you say, hey, this game looks amazing, I'll buy it on PC or I'll buy it on a service where I can use my phone or whatever, and you just buy in and you buy into the subservice, that is all profit for them day one, and they don't need to worry about you ever, right? So while I agree that the status quo model of you buy my box, you buy my games, they are losing in that department. 100%. I don't deny that. They are losing in that department, and I saw them lose. We all seeing them losing. But those numbers are indicating that that's not the only beachhead for success. And they've realized that. And I think that's probably why they went, you know what? For those who still want it, we still have one for you. But we're no longer tying our success metrics to that box anymore, because the games can still be sold without the box and we get all the profit.
I mean, the marketing,
100% agree.
And guys, the marketing has been telling us that you don't need a console. I mean, the marketing itself is in the words, no console required, right?
Yeah.
So it's subliminally telling people, don't buy it. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to. So the thing is now,
if you want to, you can. If you don't want to, it's like, and that's why when we say that, a lot of people go, oh, they care about consoles. Of course they care about consoles. They wouldn't make it if they don't care.
But
because their business model includes other avenues, if you are not getting into it that way, as long as you're getting into it your way, and at the end of the day, the end result is $18 in their pocket from you, they are like, done and done. Our job is done here. Let's move along. Like, you know,
right.
The reason why it becomes difficult for people to understand is because the market leader currently only has one method of success. You buy my box, you play my game, right?
That's what
the minute they also diversify their portfolio, then everybody will start to understand that, oh, it's a diversification game. Right now, because PlayStation doesn't play that game, everyone looks at it and says it's wrong.
And Kay, I'm so glad you took us down this avenue, because this was actually a bullet point of mine. Exactly what you just said right now. And I said this, I was on Umbra's show last Thursday. I said this. The problem with this podcast for me, personally, was that unfortunately, and I understand why, it's because it's just the way it needs to be, because they have their marketing stuff ready. They have timelines that they need to be that they need to follow, et cetera, et cetera. They just can't spill all the beans in a podcast. I think that we don't see the full picture. That's what I think is the problem here. Why we don't understand yet. Like, we don't understand what their true vision is, what Xbox, what Phil sees Xbox in 5 years or 10 years. When Phil comes out and basically says, I personally feel like in 5 to 10 years, the exclusive thing is not even going to be an important driver for the industry. He literally said that. So what is it that they're forecasting? And the only thing that makes sense to me is what we've been talking about and what we've been hinting at is that Xbox is trying to become like this hub for gaming, kind of like a Steam, where exclusives in the Steam ecosystem don't matter because no one has them. Okay, PlayStation, you can bring your stuff if you want. Nintendo, have at it, etc., etc., etc. Right? So, what I think that Xbox is trying to ascend here is that they are literally like if we're gonna take this step by step, they're trying to graduate from the console market base to the PC market space and ascend to something that has never been seen. Okay, which is combining all of these players into one, not to mention the mobile space. Once I think that the end goal for them is to have a combination in their player base console, PC, mobile, cloud gamers that makes up their 100 million that they're looking for. And until they get there and everything is tied together in a pretty little bow, we're not going to understand what it is that they're trying to do. And it's hard. Listen, I I just from growing up in the generation of the console war, it's not the way I wanted them to compete. But it is what it is. I understand it from a business perspective. The fears of the console going away are not there because they said that they're going to bring out hardware, and I do believe that they have a lot of good stuff cooking. But the thing is that they are trying to tell us, just like they tried to tell us that this was the route that they were taking. I think that they're trying to tell us that the consoles are going away in like the most polite way that they possibly can. They're trying to say, listen, we're going to make a console as long as there's a market for console. The moment that that market is dwindled down and the market is so small that it's not worth the juice is not worth the squeeze, we're tapping out. I mean, it's as clear as day to me. I don't know if you two feel the same on everything I said. Ty, what do you think of this idea that Xbox is trying to kind of become this? Like, I know I'm describing it as Steam, but it's like they're everywhere. Like they're undeniable. When you open up your phone, you're downloading an Xbox game on your phone with achievements, and then you're inside their ecosystem when you go on your PC. And when you launch a game, you're on Game Pass. And when you go to your handheld, you're inside some type of Xbox hub thing. I like that's kind of like where I see
Yeah.
kind of like where they're trying to get to.
I think yeah, you got to like right out the head there. I think they're trying to go for the whole pie. You know, for some time now, it's always been like the slice of pie just for the console wars, right? PlayStation versus Nintendo versus Xbox. And at some point, they realized this doesn't make any sense. And they're probably the best company out of Nintendo and PlayStation situation wise to actually go for the whole pot, right? They got cloud. They've invested a lot in subscription with Game Pass. And if you can put that into, obviously someone's TV, someone's mobile phone, then there you go. I think they're in prime position. I always looked at it this way, like Microsoft was in the worst, the best position because I can only see them going up from here on in. Whereas when I look at PlayStation, it's a little bit different, right? I think they need to kind of fix their pillars a little bit more. So Xbox is in a really good position. I looked at it more from a hybrid point of view. They want to be a console maker. They want to be a publisher. They want to be they want to be all these things together because that's where the money at. Why be one where you can be everything at all, everything at the same time? The only thing that I really thought about was because there was this idea of like, well, PlayStation is going to go multi-platform soon. Eventually, they're going to start putting their games on Xbox, and eventually Nintendo might even start doing that. I don't really think that. I don't really know if that's the case. Really, I think they're going to be stubborn for a very long time. I think Xbox's move is going to affect the consoles. To me, I can't. If at some point in this generation, if Starfield goes over, and if Indiana Jones goes over, I won't be getting I won't get an Xbox again. Probably, I'll probably stick with PlayStation. Like, it just depends on my finances. I'll probably stick with PlayStation because I know that's where I'm going to get everything at the end of the day, right? And I think Sony's probably banking on that, and the idea that they would then port their games potentially doesn't really make sense when they can just hold off on it. I think they're in a good position. I mean, they're in first place, right? So they don't really have to make any moves straight away. Xbox were probably forced to do this to an extent just because they are in third place. Like Sante was saying there that about Starfield that hey, listen, the consoles didn't sell, but the services went up, everything else went up, and that's true. And I think that's actually the reason why we're probably seeing this. At some point they looked at it and say, hey, the consoles isn't doing well, so we can just kind of ignore that for a second. How about we just strengthen the positions that we've been good at? And in order to
Yep.
do that, you need to put those games onto other platforms. And
Absolutely.
and if you look at the Xbox One and the the Xbox Series X and S, their profits have been going up and up and up. And these are probably like the worst consoles. Like I like the Xbox Series X, I really do. But when I look at the sales compared to what the Xbox One was, which to Microsoft was probably deemed a sort of failure, this really makes sense. I think for me personally, I think 2023 really hurt them, at least from a console perspective. And I think it was everything that happened in that year that made them completely shift. I will agree as well that this buying Activision Blizzard did play a large role because now you got the big guys looking at the finances saying, okay, we need to bring some money in, and I don't think they're doing it because they're bad people. You could probably argue that they're actually what they're saying makes a lot of sense. Um, I think when you take the emotion out of it, if I was the CEO of Xbox, I might probably do the exact same thing too. Because what I'm doing right now is making us money. Yeah, sure. But can we do something else that's going to make us more money? And gamers might not like it. People might not like it. That's true. But I don't want to make it seem like gamers don't know what they want or whatever. But if you know the market's going to a particular direction, the last thing you want to do is react. You want to be the first person to be there when things do change, right? So when cloud takes off, you want to be front and center. When people decide, hey, listen, I want to subscribe to start playing games, you want to be front and center. And I think even PlayStation is seeing that now as well. And they're thinking, yeah, our pillars are bad. And when this shift does happen, we need to be in prime position to compete. So um, Phil is future thinking, Xbox is future thinking. And I think we already know this just because they were the first platform holder really to start publishing all the games day and date on PC. I know when that happened, that was a bit of a ruckus, and they went through it. And probably when they saw the drama going on with the fans going on Twitter, they probably thought the same thing. Yeah, okay, they're angry, they're upset, but the truth is, this is what it's gonna be. This is how it's
I
gonna work.
mean, if you really think about it, Ty, we don't have a choice at the moment, right? But
Yeah,
let
no
me
choice.
let me ask you. Look, and our band of bandits know I have a saying, and that's all gamers are frauds. Okay, all it takes is a nice looking game or a
Of
nice
course.
looking system to get us back in the bag. So for you, and then I'll go to Kay Asante to get his thoughts on everything kind of that we touched on in the last couple of minutes, and we got a couple of super chats here. What would it get you to be excited for Xbox to do for you to buy some hardware from them? What will it take for them to show you? Is it a next gen powerful box that releases next to the PlayStation 6 and it matches it tit for tat, and you have Game Pass and the promise of all the first party games in Game Pass? Or are you looking for them to be different? Because up until now, they have not had success being head to head with Sony and saying, we're going to release on this day with these games and we're going to go head to head with you. PlayStation is winning that battle. What do you think would get people like you excited? And do you believe, Phil, when he says that even if we release 10 games on launch day, he didn't say this, but it's kind of like what he said. Even if they release 10 launch games and they're all 10 out of 10s, there's still going to be more PlayStation sold than Xboxes.
For me to get another Xbox, to be honest, I'm going to need some type of confirmation that the exclusive games. Starfield was a game I wanted to get. Like I was crazy about getting that game, and it was going to be on PlayStation, so I got an Xbox for it. There are people like me out there who do buy these games for exclusives, right? As soon as I have some kind of confirmation that hey, Starfield might show up next year or so, then I'm gonna start thinking about getting a PlayStation for sure. Like I might get a PlayStation this year just because I want to play Final Fantasy 16. Um, I think for Xbox, the difficult problem here that they have is PlayStation is no slouch. in their worst year, like we've seen Xbox at their worst. Like 2022 was a complete joke. But in PlayStation's worst year, which is potentially this year, they've dropped Grand Blue Link. I think that's its name. I think it has a million sales on Steam, and I think at some point it was doing better than Persona and Yakuza. That's impressive. Now they have Helldivers too. They're gonna have Final Fantasy remake dropping next month, I believe, or 2 months.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big one. That's gonna be a big one for them.
This is their worst year, and they have like 3 big games already. So I think the problem Xbox has is, they can drop 10 big games, and it could be 10 out of 10, but PlayStation needs to drop just probably 6 or 7, and that's enough. So Xbox is they're trying to. I don't want to say it's a win. It's a losing battle, but they need PlayStation to mess up in order for them to overtake them.
But they need a lot of mess ups is a problem. So last question for you, and then we'll go to K here.
Sure.
What do you think that Xbox is trying to morph what the word exclusive means? Because PlayStation has done that successfully this generation. Even if it's a 1-year exclusive means for time period. And Game Pass, do you think that that's the new exclusive? When Microsoft says the word exclusive, it's time period and Game Pass day one.
Yeah, 100%. I think when the rumors started happening, I was thinking it seems like the Xbox is going to be a timed console. All games eventually will head on over to PlayStation, and I mean that's not the worst thing ever, but it definitely doesn't make the console attractive. You lose that kind of
it's a new world.
It's a new world. No, not a world that we might probably like as much. But I guess if you really think about it on a day-to-day thing, on a day-to-day basis, is it really going to affect us too much? I don't know. I'm going to still end up playing the games I want to play. If, for example, Starfield 2 or Elder Scrolls is a timed exclusive on Xbox, if the game is that good, I will buy an Xbox for it. I think the problem Xbox has is if at some point in the future they forget about the whole timed exclusive element of things and they start to say, well, let's start porting games in maybe 3 months or maybe day and date on PlayStation or whatever it is, then I think their console, I think for me, is probably done. It's probably finished.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's get to these 2 super chats, and then Kay will round out the conversation with basically, let me tell you, Ty, from everyone that I have spoken to, Kay really helped me understand what's happening in the industry. And I kind of want him to summarize what he sees in the horizons here, because I think that more than anyone that I have seen talking about this particular subject, I think Kay Asante has really done a great job of understanding and sitting back and really looking at the landscape. Steal something from our good friends at Pong So and Steal that RTS view. Kay Asante has that RTS view, while I'm in the trenches fighting with the other console warriors, and I'm missing stuff, right? So first super chat that let's get to, JMac, $5. Thank you so much, sir. Salute, gentlemen. Just supporting my folks. Hashtag Graybeards. Hashtag We Them Boys. We outside. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. J-Mac, thank you so much, man. We really appreciate you being here. MJ Dark, Kay Asante with another $4.99. He's going at it here. John Wolf will go on Naughty Dog on naughty sites to download Switch games and get malware, but God forbid he has to try another PC launcher. Best on Switch. Listen. You guys can come at me all you want. He got
you on that one. He got you.
Listen, you guys can come at me all you want. I know deep inside it burns a hole in your soul when you hear the words Epic Games Store exclusive. And I'm gonna hold it. So Kay, I gave you your props, man, because honestly, you really have kind of been the voice of reason through all of this. Talk to us, man. Where's this going for Xbox as a brand? Let's remember that this is Tech Talk and PCMR. Being in the PC space, we kind of there's no worries about exclusives over here. Hey, you don't want to bring the game over here? We'll figure out a way to play it anyways. Okay, so in the PC world, that's the way. It's the Thanos. We're the Thanos here. So we'll do it ourselves.
Yeah. But okay, so let me establish some ground here, right? And no shade to Ty, no shade to you. The established model has worked forever. forever. And because of that, that is the parlance that people speak. You use historical evidence to speak on what will continue because that's what is the established model, right? From what I see, it looks like Microsoft is tired of dealing with the established model because it would require too much of them turning into PlayStation in order to succeed at PlayStation's game. And they're like, why should we do that when we can succeed our way, right? And what they're doing, seemingly, is exactly like what you were saying, Mr. Wolf. They're going the Steam route, right? Why is it that Epic will give you GTA 5 for free, $0.99, and people will go and pay for it in Steam, right?
Mm-hmm.
Between all the free stuff that Epic has given me in their launcher, I have close to 300 games, and I'm talking AAA, top tier stuff you'd be paying $70 for. They're giving it to you for free, and still, what do people do? They go, "Thank you for the free game. I will now go back to Steam. I will now go back to Valve
and put it as a
pay full
non-Steam
price."
game in there. Yeah.
Right? Why are they doing that? Because Valve has cracked a nut that people have been trying to for a long time, which is it's just all here. The tyranny of the default. It's all here. And it's not all here because it's crap and this is your only choice. It's all here because we give you everything you want here and you don't have to worry about it anywhere else, right? People go to Epic, they'll go, yeah, it's great, but I can't talk to my friends. Yeah, it's great, but I can't. Yeah, it's great, but I can't. So eventually they go back to their tried and true. And that's why Valve wins, right? They don't care and they won't care about a single exclusive. Why? Because the exclusive is the platform. That's Valve, right? You have the deck, you have access to everything. Oh, you used to have a Steam controller. Now you have the profile of those Steam controllers. Oh, you can connect it to, you can remote control it to another device. All that stuff has been part and parcel of the experience, so much so that it's just become the ecosystem that gamers on PC like to play on. That's it, right? What Microsoft wants to do is become that way as well. Remember early on when the series consoles were competing against PlayStation 5, it was like, oh, this game came out on PS4, transitioned to 5. How do you get your game saves? Well, here's the 15-step process. On Xbox, you just load it up. It's just there. Oh, well, people keep talking about quick resume and all these other things. Do I think that is their method of success? I don't know for sure. But what I do know is I think Microsoft is getting tired or becoming done with the artificial value that has been the model all this time. Now, let me be clear and explain what I mean by that. Artificial value is something that isn't real, but they have forced it down your throat, dear consumer, for so long that you think it's real. It's the blue bubble, green bubble debate. You know, iOS having a Messenger isn't real. They specifically took away RCS protocol from the iPhone, so you think that the blue bubble messages are the only ones that are available. That is artificial lock-in, artificial value. That is the company being nefarious in order to keep you, the consumer, still on the dime, right? It's business, but it's not necessarily the most righteous of pursuits, because at the end of the day, because of that, the underlying platform, which would be PlayStation or Nintendo Switch or any other platform, can go around being crappy and you'll still buy it because of the artificial lock-in. Look at Switch, right? If you took games away from that ecosystem, take games away from all three ecosystems. We're talking about consoles, right? There are no games involved in the PlayStation, in the Xbox, in the Switch. Where do you spend most of your time? Where would you want to spend most of your time? I would say the Xbox, because they give you a lot of bang for your buck without a single game being there, right? But because artificial locking is a thing, right? You'll go, I'll still give you my social security number and never be able to actually communicate online with anybody because they got Zelda, right? Oh, I will accidentally lose my game saves for Ghost of Tsushima and get another thing. They never have to deal with putting saves properly where they're supposed to go. Why? Because they got Ghost of Tsushima. They got greatness, right? Because they have the content, and the content has always been king, it has allowed them to not necessarily give you what you should be getting from an ecosystem perspective. And as long as they can keep locking you in with the content being king, they get to continue being crappy on the ecosystem side. Switch has learned that. Nintendo, PlayStation has learned that, right? What Microsoft is doing is they're realizing we have not been able to recreate content so great that even though everything else is crappy, you'll still come for us. We haven't been able to do it. So instead of continuing to twist the knife and continuing to turn the butter, and then one day maybe we will get a Naughty Dog like, instead we'll go the Steam route, which is we'll make the ecosystem so advantageous, so amazing to use, so easy for you to use, that becomes the reason why you come there, right? Will they succeed in that? The devil will be in the details, right? The question that you asked John, the question you asked Ty, asking him, what can they do to entice you enough to buy their hardware? If you never buy their hardware, Ty, they will not give a crap. They will not sleep. They will not lose sleep one day as long as your Game Pass sub does not lapse. That is their priority, right? Because again, if they get you to buy their hardware, whoop-de-doo, they have to make sure you keep buying games. They don't want to do that, right? Because if you buy their hardware and don't buy games, you've lost them money because their hardware costs them too much. So they need you to buy games in order to make it whole. If they get you to stay there, like from what I can tell, their holy grail is to get a Sony to allow the browser, for example. And then you, PlayStation gamer, can still be on PlayStation. You'll never buy their hardware, but you will be subscribed to Game Pass and get all of their games too. To them, that is super successful because they didn't need to get you into their hardware. You're subscribed to the service. You'll always give them the money they want, right? And they'll be super happy. To them, that is a perfect consumer, right? Having to get you into the hardware first in order for them to keep selling you, that is a burden that they don't want to necessarily deal with. Why are they dealing with it? Because that's how it's always been. That's how console market has always been. So they're literally transitioning from the status quo where they're losing to a new world where maybe you won't need that hardware barrier of entry. Maybe you bring your own hardware so they don't have to worry about, oh, will they like it before they get in? No, the game is there. It's good. You like it. You subscribe to the service, right? Honestly, I think that's where they're going in the future because to Ty's point, Sony has been super expert at turning third parties into first parties, which Microsoft can't do, right? You hear Microsoft coming out with 6 first-party titles. They're coming out, 6 of them, first party. When does that happen? Never does that happen. But already, Ty is already talking about, well, 2023, look at this year, 2024. They already have Stella Yams coming out, right? They have Final Fantasy coming out, right? They have Hellblade, Helldivers already looking good. Rise of the Ronin.
Yeah.
What are the keys here? None of them belong to PlayStation. None of them do. But because they are so good at threading the needle, you think they do, right? You PlayStation gamer think, oh, we have so many games on PlayStation. Whereas when it was on the flip side, it was on Xbox, they literally have to release 6 first-party titles before you give them credit. Whereas on PlayStation side, they're not releasing a single first-party title until April of 2025. But every third party is credit to them. This is the world they live in. This is why Microsoft has to diversify their portfolio, because whether you like it or not, Rise of Ronin becomes a notch on the PlayStation's belt when they did nothing for it. Nothing. Right? Absolutely. The only one you can even give them a little bit of credit for is Helldivers 2 because it's their IP and they helped develop it and get it out there. Besides Helldivers, the rest
is Rise of Ronin day one on Steam as well?
Yes, I'm not sure. I think it is. Because I'll double check.
Because something caught my attention with what you just said, and this is the genius of Steam and Valve as a company.
Mm-hmm.
Sony does all the marketing for that game, and all they do is sit back and they get the most players.
Yes.
So
See,
so
and
the missing.
let me finish by just saying what you're saying there. And by the way, Rise of the Ronin so far is only been cured for PlayStation so
Okay.
far. So they probably paid to have it only there, right?
For a bit.
The key here is PlayStation is still in that original market. So it is in their best interest to continue to feed it that way. Even PC is their competitor, right? Because if you buy it on PC, you may potentially have less chance to buy it on their console until they themselves have their own launcher, right? The reason why Steam always wins is because they don't have to make any deals. They don't have to do anything. They become the dumping ground for all games. And I honestly think Microsoft is moving in that direction. They want a world where Rise of Ronin comes on PlayStation, great. Comes on PC, great. It may never have to hit the quote unquote Xbox, but by the virtue of it going into PC, it belongs to us now. Everything that goes into PC belongs to us now, right? And they can do that because guess what? They own PC. They just need to thread that needle, and they haven't done so yet. So to me, I think graybeards, guys who are out there talking about the old model and how it was, I would say maybe the next 2 generations are probably the last 2 generations you're going to see it status quo, both on PlayStation and on Xbox's side. I think Xbox moves faster than PlayStation does, but PlayStation is also moving. There's a world where, as Ty was saying, I don't see PlayStation ever putting their stuff on Xbox because that pool of console players is too small. But guess what? Here's one that'll earn me some tomatoes. I bet there's a world sooner rather than later than you see day one Game Pass games on PC that came from PlayStation. Not necessarily on Xbox, not the console, but when they tie their arms around the PC platform as they have, and they're giving bags left and right, and you got Totoki-san saying, we need money, they're going to bring some day one games to Game Pass PC because that's easy to do. It's basically take the bag, give me the game. They don't have to do any kind of different development for it. They already have the game.
And that doesn't hurt them in the console arena at all.
Exactly, because they're no longer a competitor. They're quote unquote partners.
It doesn't move the needle.
I think that's a problem though, just because if we're talking about a future where we start focusing on streaming and PC, PlayStation recognizes that is the battlefield that they're gonna have to compete in. So if you have like a Rise of Ronin on a Game Pass, well, now you're actually helping your competitor big time. So I absolutely will not see that. Because remember with Death Stranding, they didn't want that game to be on Game Pass. They didn't know.
But guess what happened? It still happened. It still went down.
Accord, though.
There was a loophole.
Of course not.
There was a loophole.
Yeah. It's not by their own accord, but it still went down. And the reason why I'm saying it will still go down is, guess who owns that ecosystem? Microsoft does. Microsoft has always owned that ecosystem. The reason why that ecosystem has been allowed to thrive for as long as it has is because they've been treating it like the wicked stepchild. So much so that PC now owns the market. If they put their arms around Windows for a long time, I bet you Mac or even Linux would have outshined at this point, because nobody wants to be like, well, we're putting everything on our competitor. No, Microsoft was good and genius in treating it like a wicked stepchild to the point now that it is the market. And all they have to do is go, hey, now we have a Windows 12. And oh, by the way, it's also a gaming ecosystem now. Now they have to do is put their arms around their platform. And if you do, what is Sony going to do? Overnight, take all their wares away? No, it's too late now. PC is gaming. All they have to do now is grab them by the arm. It will take some doing.
The open platform system. The open platform.
Yes, I'm talking about open platforms. I'm talking about like changing it so that anywhere you are basically in the same ecosystem, because they own it.
You explain that one to me, because I've heard people talk about the open platform, and I can't wrap my head around why. I understand that you would sell some console, some.
Let me explain it very easily for you, because you uniquely are uniquely qualified to understand it more than Americans are. Because for a long time, if you install Windows in any European EU nation, they force you to decide which browser to use, right? Because Windows is ubiquitous and you can't lock the browser down. The minute you make the only browser Edge, now all of a sudden you're being monopolistic. You have to give people options. And that's what the EU decided, right? The minute you tie Windows into gaming, now you have to give people the option of stores as well, right? People, the first thing you would think of is, why would Microsoft want to do that? That gives them less options. It gives them more options, right? It gives them more options because yes, it's true they could put it on a handheld and they most likely will, but wherever this thing lives, an Xbox ecosystem lives. And if you force people to then have the option of stores as well, it means you have one-stop shop for everything. Like a one-stop shop for everything. And Valve has to agree because guess what? This is an open platform that insists on options, just like the browser ballot.
So my issue with that is when I think about console gamers, right? They like console gaming. So when I look when I think about PC gaming, I'm thinking to myself, do console gamers really want to play PC games? Like right now, we're seeing Helldivers.
Not today. Not today. No. Don't think of it like today, right? Okay. Because today the browser, today's operating system is not the same as the operating system that we're talking about here, right? If you've ever used like a Steam Deck, you know what I'm talking about because a Steam Deck literally compartmentalizes their operating system. The first thing you see is the console, right? A Steam Deck is a console-like UI, right? The first thing you see is the console-like UI. You boot up, it's exactly like a Microsoft product. Like, you see your posters of the games you want to play, and you hit play and you're playing them. There's an app store, all of that. If you want Windows, your idea of Windows with an app store and your mouse moving and all of that, you can open it, but that's a separate app, a separate interface that you must choose to interface with before it even opens.
So see,
right?
I get
if
that.
you don't choose that, it just stays in console mode forever. And Windows is working exactly like that as well now.
But see, I look at these two games. I look at Helldivers, for example, right? And we see that's doing really well on PC, but not so much on PlayStation 5. We also look at games like Baldur's Gate 3, which sold 20-something million on PC. Like, how many did they sell on PlayStation and Xbox? And I feel like
those are PC-specific games, yes.
Yeah, but I feel like there is some crossover. But I feel like console gamers in general are quite different from PC gamers. So what benefit will I have from having the Epic Game Store and the Steam Store?
The console gamers... The console gamers are different from PC gamers because of the technical limitations of both sides. Console gamers have to be console gamers because they don't want to deal with technical limitations.
You just want to press play and go.
PC gamers, that's right. PC gamers are PC gamers because they want the ability to have power use over their games, right? They want to be able to do more than what a console can offer. The way this is resolved is bringing them both together by solving both sides' problem. One, you solve the console maker's problem by making PC games very easy and turnkey to run, meaning you hit play, you're playing it. You can literally do that right now, right? Because everybody thinks about, consoles, PCs, your drivers, and all that is like stuff of the past. Absolutely stuff of the past. Right now, though, the interface is very PC-centric. So we can have a further discussion about it, but all I will tell you is the way to resolve this is for the manufacturer, which in this case is Microsoft, to bridge the gap. The reason why console gamers are separate than PC gamers right now is because they've had to be because of the technical limitations of the environment.
And you got to listen to what Phil was saying.
They come together.
And you got to listen to what Phil is saying. Go back and listen to the podcast. He specifically talks about generations, how hardware is limited by generations. Then you have Sarah Bond talking about how the next, hardware that they're working on is a technical, it's just a technical advancement. And what that tells me is that not really from a graphics perspective or frame rates or anything like that. We've already been there, done that. I think she's talking about just the ecosystem. Just the technology, the AI, and the AI and the technology coming together and fusing essentially what is this mecca of what the Steam Deck was able to accomplish. In a perfect world, I would love for Xbox to bring out a handheld, just like the Steam Deck, where when you turn it on, you're basically inside a launcher, what we'll call a launcher, right? And you're inside the Windows Store with all of their games, all of their Xbox games that you have purchased or that you can purchase, all of their mobile games that are coming. A Warzone is going to be theirs. There's no reason why they need to have their ecosystem separated like this. And there's hints of that within Steam. They have ported over mobile games to Steam that they're very successful on Steam, and you can see that, but Xbox can take it an extra notch with the technology gap that they're talking about here. In a perfect world, right? For Xbox and for any of this to make sense for me, they need to ascend to this thing where all of their content is together. And they've been able to combine generations. They've been able to combine all of their storefronts. And if I'm an Xbox gamer that I like the Xbox ecosystem, if they can do something like this, they got me locked in. And having an exclusive for a year, I'm not gonna go anywhere.
So,
I'm not going anywhere.
John, let me address some things. So there are folks in the chat who don't seem to understand what we're saying. This is not your tower, your PC tower next to your TV. You're thinking with old thoughts. You know that your Steam, you know that today your Series X is a PC, full-fledged. They just chose not to run Windows on it. Actually, they are running Windows on it. It's just a bespoke version of it, right? We're not talking about picking up, lugging your old status quo computer and plugging it under the OLED. That's not what we're talking about. Just like right now, if Microsoft chose to, they could have run Windows 11/Windows 12 on the Series X, and it would have been under your TV. We're talking about a different device that is basically a PC, because that's what they all are. A Steam Deck is a PC. It's in a different form factor, but it's an x86 device that you can run Windows on, right? All of those, every company now designs PCs, even though some of them are called consoles, because what they call consoles are the limiting user interfaces that limit you from getting in the background and tinkering. They're all PCs.
But they're doing that because they want that 30% cut, right? Because that's why I can't wrap my head around it. Because if Xbox was to open up their PC, then you have the Steam on it, you have Epic. Why would I be incentivized to buy it on their store when I can just get it on Steam, which is probably cheaper?
Exactly. See, but ask yourself, why is it today that they offer you free games on Epic and people still buy it on Steam? That paradigm that you're asking yourself happens today on PC every day. They're like Epic is throwing money at people, and guess where everybody buys their stuff? Steam. Why? Because Steam has given the most console-like UI interface environment for gamers, and it's been that way for so long that you have no choice but to go there. Now, again, I keep saying this. I'm not saying Microsoft will succeed. I'm saying that's what they're going for.
I think my pushback here would be PC gamers are a little bit tight in that sense that they love Steam, right? That's cool. I don't think console gamers are the exact same, because Xbox gamers who buy PlayStation, they'll spend $550 to play a PlayStation 5 game. Yes. Steam players will not download an app to play a different game. So I think console players, we have the Switch, we have Xbox, we have PlayStation 5. So we're very broad. We'll go anywhere to get the game, but PC players will not. So if Xbox does this, I have no
the
incentive.
Reason. Honestly, I think the reason why those differences exist are because a console gamer will buy their hardware because they know that's where the games live, whereas a PC gamer knows that when they buy their expensive hardware, all games live there. That's why you won't get PC gamers to go elsewhere, because they're like, look, I know my hardware. I bought my hardware. I want it all right here. Whereas console gamers, right? A what do you call it? A Switch gamer will wait until a 4K version of the same game comes out because they know now they can play the 4K version. Whereas the PC gamer will go, no, homie, I'll just go buy a bigger video card because I know I can make it run. It's just the difference between taking the agency away from the person versus giving the agency to the person, depending on what you are, console gamer versus PC gamer. But at the end of the day, what it looks like to me is they're trying to use people's behavior to move them. Will it work? That's the devil that's in the details.
Here's the thing, Ty. If they're able to kind of come through and see this through, right? What I can imagine for myself, I'm speaking for my user, for my user case here. Let's say that Final Fantasy is launching next week or next 2 weeks on PlayStation, right? It's a time exclusive, and Xbox cannot touch this game. If they can figure out a way where that doesn't matter anymore, and what I mean by that is that when it goes to the Steams of the world, you have a way to get that game. I think that that's going to keep you in that ecosystem the same way that people will
John,
say that
let
they'll
me give
pull
you an
you
analogy.
away. Sure.
Let me give you an analogy to that. Do we know that when PlayStation was coming out with Xbox and all that, the recent fight, right? The consoles coming out, right? GameStop at some point, the question was, why would they even continue that? Because there are these consoles that are being sold that have no discs. It's not in their best interest. What did Microsoft do? Microsoft worked out a deal with them where if you buy a console at GameStop, right, that specific SKU, that specific tie-in, I don't know how they're doing it in the back end. Every time you continue to buy stuff, GameStop gets a little bit of dough. They've incentivized GameStop to continue to sell this hardware. So even after you've sold it and it's in your house and you've moved along, anytime you buy something, GameStop gets a little bit of dough, right? And because of that, it is in GameStop's best interest to continue selling devices that technically, once you've bought it, you never have a reason to come back to that store, right? But they still continue to get slight bits of kickback because that's the deal they made with Microsoft. Who says they don't make that same slight kickback deal with, say, a Valve, right? Yeah, your hardware, your software can be installed everywhere you want, but on our hardware, anytime anybody buys something on your store, on our store, we'll give you a little bit of a kickback. Why? Because you're allowing us to put your stuff on the store. I'm not saying that's what will be done. I'm saying when they want to move the needle, they can do these little things in the background that incentivizes their competitors to be there.
Lost. Yeah. That's why I really see money being lost.
Well, anything can happen. Anything can happen, Kay, because in the business world, anything can happen. But even though I don't see it, I mean, anything can happen. But I will tell you this. How you create this thing that we're talking about, which is I don't care what exclusives you have mentality that is over on the PC space that allows you to say, I'm not going to buy a PS5. I don't care how good you tell me God of War Ragnarok is. I'll wait for it to come on Steam. The way that Xbox creates that same behavior and attitude with its own consumers and future consumers is that you need to make Xbox the space, the tool so good to use that people are willing to wait, or people are willing to say, you know what? I'm not even going to move an inch to buy myself a PlayStation because I feel good. That's where the devil lies, right? I feel good. I feel good in the ecosystem, and I have an option, even though that PlayStation is arbitrarily trying to keep this game away from Xbox. I'm still going to get to play it either way because they have found a solution for me being in the Xbox ecosystem to do so. And I think that if they can achieve that, that is the only way that this makes any sense to me, why they're willing to give up what they know has traditionally been such an important needle mover in this industry, which is exclusives. If they're not doing it for that, I really don't see it. I don't see the vision here. I'm not convinced in
the current status quo model, it doesn't matter all the exclusives you get. If you're not getting someone to buy your hardware, your exclusives go unbought.
Right.
And that's that.
You don't make money.
So they'll take a 30% cut if it means their exclusives eventually see the light of day and get bought. Right.
I guess I should ask a question.
Go ahead, Ty.
What do you think like consumers would gravitate more to? A PlayStation 5 console that is like has exclusive PlayStation 5 games, or an Xbox console that has Epic and Steam embedded inside its ecosystem? Which one do you think sells more?
So I don't think that in the current model in the PlayStation 5 versus that is an apt comparison. But in a world where they diversify their model, meaning it's not like, oh, they came out, here's an Xbox versus a PlayStation, and then they did that. But in a world like a Switch, where they pick up their ball and go elsewhere, and now they say, from now on, if you want the best, there's a PC for you. That is part of the ecosystem, because it is, right? But here's a handheld device that is kind of like, I don't know, your Series X on the go. And this is like in 2 years where that hardware is capable. They will no longer be, it's the Jay-Z versus Nas thing I was saying. They will no longer be compared 1-to-1 with that competitor anymore, because they'll come out at a different time. They'll be in a different cycle, right? And what will incentivize a normal gamer to go buy that? Because they want to be a companion device. They don't want to be your replacement device. That's what someone like a John Wolf is upset about. They want you to continue doing that battle. Microsoft doesn't want to do that battle anymore, right? They're okay with being a companion device. They're okay with being Switch status, which is you get your console and you also get this thing too, right? And that's why I see them being okay in this world. It's not the same as, oh, we're going to supersede the champion. They know they can't supersede the champion. They've already said that. They lost the one world, the one generation that they should not have lost, which was that PS4, Xbox One gen, right? Everyone's already got their libraries. So if you want to entice them, you also have to account for their libraries. That's the reason why they're okay with others joining that ecosystem.
I think one thing I will say is, I agree. If they kind of really say,
the devil's in the execution details, man. It's all about that execution. If it comes out and it's the same trashy app store that people are used to, yeah, that'll spell the kiss of death, and I won't disagree with that.
I think with console gamers, if Epic is on that store and they're offering Alan Wake 2 and all these other games for free, I think console gamers will go there and play them. PC gamers will go download the games on Epic Games Store and they'll leave.
Yes, we will.
And they'll leave, exactly.
Yeah,
console gamers will actually stay in Epic Game Store. I don't think we don't have an affection for storefronts like that, right? I'll give you an example.
That's right.
I think if Steam is on the Xbox ecosystem, what's to say Steam doesn't overtake Xbox as a storefront? Because Steam is really popular. It's really well done.
Yes, it is. Yes,
if
it
I
is.
Go on
and the question there is, if you will buy a game on Steam, right? And that means that game that you're going to buy, let's say you're buying Starfield, right? If the question is either you buy it on Steam and then Microsoft gets 30% less from you, or you don't buy it at all because it's nowhere, what do you think they choose? They'd rather you buy it on Steam and they get that 30% cut loss than you not buy it at all.
Well, that's the thing.
That's why
I don't think that platform in itself will sell that much to even justify it. That's my point.
But remember, this is Windows. This wouldn't be a bespoke platform that's different, that needs to exist for the purposes of this game thing, right? If it was a bespoke environment that needs more players for it to exist, I hear you. Because they don't have the same pool as the other pool. This is Windows, the fundamental bedrock of all of the ecosystems.
But would it not be replaced with the Xbox Series X though?
I'm sorry?
I mean, would it not be replacing their console
with the same operating system type of a device, where whether it be a console or a handheld, it'd be the same thing you're looking at.
No,
it'd be the same environment.
If it replaces their console, then that means Xbox gives away that 30% cut, because now it's an open storefront, right? And I feel
and if you happen to buy it from their store, they get 100%. If you buy it from Steam, they get 30.
But I don't think that
70.
I don't think that Xbox would advertise that right up front, but they'll give you the option, which is where gamers will obviously take advantage of that option to
I mean, right now in the Steam store, right? In the Valve Steam Deck, you can get all these other stores. They don't advertise it, but you totally can. Exactly. What did Valve do when they were doing the big commercial for, hey, Steam Deck is cool? They just
Yuzu.
happened to show you a logo of Yuzu, which, if you don't know, an emulator for Switch. They just showed you the logo and then moved on. They didn't
Then
tell you could play Switch games there, but everybody
Yeah.
saw that and went, "Oh
But they're
boy!"
telling,
I have
but
an
they're
issue.
telling you.
Then I think my issue then would be the ones who know about it will buy it and they'll go to Steam and Epic and get all these games. The ones
Sure,
who don't know
yes,
about
yes.
it
Yeah,
will remain
but
the same and get the PS5.
Will be
But-
tyranny of the default.
But hold on. This is where the magic works. If
Okay.
if the front end of whatever this thing is, if it even is a thing, is so
Mhm.
smooth and it works so well, and you just press a button to buy, and you have this, and it's just so convenient
If
you
it's
don't
the
even
Steam
wa-
Deck, is what
it-
you're saying.
that you don't want to lift a finger to go into another mode. They got a winner on their hands. That's what they need to establish. They need to have the user not want to leave whatever that ecosystem is, only on a need to be basis. Like, for example, like I'm telling you, hey, we're missing on a Final Fantasy. No, we're not. Okay, when is this game coming out? 6 months later? I'll get it. I don't need to buy a PlayStation for that. But with all that said, right, we also need to understand something that I think is going unsaid here by a lot of podcasts and a lot of people with this discussion. It is not in Xbox's best interest for Nintendo and PlayStation to go away at all. It is in their best interest for their current model that they have Call of Duty, these IPs that they've acquired, for these companies to be doing well so that they can make more money. So this is why this is uncharted waters, guys. This is why we need to see where this is going. We need to listen to what they're saying on these podcasts and through their communications, because I do not believe that they want the next PlayStation to sell less than the PlayStation 5, because they know that more PlayStation selling are more Call of Duties that they get to sell. Now, would they prefer to get 100% of the money? Of course. But if they also know that there's a balancing act here, because again, I think that they have figured out a way, or they're trying to figure out a way to monetize the user and the gamer. It doesn't matter where you want a game. You want a game on PlayStation, we're gonna get you there. You want to go to Nintendo because that's your favorite, and you're Mr. Joanna Dark, we're gonna get you there. All right. You prefer PC and you'll never leave PC, PCMR all day, we're gonna get you there. Mobile, we're gonna get you there. So they have
are you a
figured out.
console player who loves to sit in front of your console? You want to be an Xbox guy, you want to enjoy your ecosystem, it will be exactly like it always has been. You will notice no difference.
So
Do you guys fear that this kumbaya-ness, this niceness, gonna
see? I don't think it's nice though. That's what it is.
I don't like it.
People say it's kumbaya. I don't think it's kumbaya at all. I think it's them finally untying their second hand behind their back, because come on now, we have way more resources than anybody else. Why have we not been using all of it? Right? Sony always wins because they always add their movie house to their games. That's why they have super cinematic games. They do that better than anybody else. What does Microsoft do better than anybody else? Software and services. Better than anybody else, right? This is why Office 365 is everywhere. This is why the number one PC selling game that's a PlayStation game, which in Helldivers 2 is using Azure cloud services. Like, they will get you while you're coming and you're going. They're just sick and tired of playing seemingly. I keep saying seemingly because we want to see them thread that needle. It looks like they're sick and tired of always playing the same game as the others, right? Why is it that Nintendo gets to use what they do best, which is gameplay? Why is it that PlayStation gets to do what they do best, which is cinematics and movies? All the while, Microsoft is not using what they've done best up until now, which is software and services, right? As soon as Satya showed up, software and services turned them into a $3 trillion company. So now they're like, you know what? F everything else. We lean on what we are good at, software and services.
The question I guess I'll say is, and I must say I even believe this myself, is what do you think is a bigger motivator, survival or money? Because I look at PlayStation, right? And I think, PlayStation 1 did well, PlayStation 2 did well. And I think they got a spook with Xbox. It's what led them to actually invest so much more in the PS3, and it's what led them to have all these exclusive games because they were
Mhm.
so comfortable with having Final Fantasy and all these other third-party games, Tekken,
Yep.
Metal Gear Solid. And as soon as they started seeing their games go over to Xbox, like GTA, for example,
Mhm.
right? I think Vice City was exclusive
Yep.
for some time. Then when they
Yep.
saw Resident Evil 4 be exclusive to the GameCube, they realized that all these games that they took for granted are not actually theirs. So they have no
Yeah.
powers. Crash
Because
Bandicoot.
now all of a sudden, the idea of artificial value is now up, because for a long time they were the only game in town because they were the only game in town. The minute
Yeah.
that the other team can now do exactly the same thing, or they can actually basically port your game over to their system, and now all of a sudden the consumer realizes, hey, it's not only available on PlayStation. Now
Yeah.
everything you said is a lie, right? This is why they tried to stop them from buying COD, because the minute COD is on Game Pass, all of a sudden the idea of, oh, it's too big to be exclusive, that's a lie now, because
Yeah,
the
falls
biggest
apart.
game in the world is on COD. This is the point. They're trying to dispel the artificial value that companies use to turn people into pay pigs. Oh, you want the next version of that game? Get the next hardware. No, you don't need the next version of that hardware. Why? Because at the end of the day, the bits that it needs, the code you need to upgrade the version to the PS5 version shouldn't cost you an extra $10, let alone 70, right? But because the model has always been, this is how it works, and no one has challenged it, people just assume that's how it is.
I
Microsoft is
still
challenging
think
it.
I just think that even if Xbox was right now was to get so aggressive and say we got GTA 6 marketing, we got our Series S at $149, we have Call of Duty on Game Pass. I still do not know if that is enough for them to outsell PlayStation and the Switch 2 when that comes out on a consistent basis.
No, it's
Even
See,
not.
if they were
but you're making a mistake. You're making a mistake. When you say outsell, you're talking hardware.
yes.
They don't give a crap about the hardware.
No, listen,
Oh, yeah,
listen.
that-
Listen.
listen, let me be clear.
I'm not, hold on
The
a second.
time it releases,
Before
Go
you go
ahead.
on, I'm not arguing that they do. I'm with you. I'm hand in hand with you because they have made it very apparent that they don't care about hardware. They're telling us in their marketing. So
And when I
believe
say
you,
that, let's be clear. I'm not saying they don't really care about hardware. They're just
It's
using
not-
the hardware as a means to an end. That's it.
It's not like you said, it's not their barometer for success. It's
Yeah.
not what they're aiming for. If it happens, great. If we get it, cool. But
Yes.
that's not our barometer for success.
As long as people stay engaged, hardware can go away.
But
to them.
where I'm going with this is that for people like me that were on the fence about it, and for us to get over it, we need to listen to the message, and we need to understand that Xbox and Microsoft do not want to play the game that we want them to play. So we're telling them, hey, go out there and shoot three pointers for three pointers with Ray Allen. They're not going to do that. They're going to lose. So what they're going to do
So
is
instead, they're saying, screw shooting 3-pointers to get good. I'm buying the team, son. I'm buying the stadium, son. I don't need to go shoot 3-pointers to get good.
You guys think because you're right, they will lose 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you put that down to management? Because
no,
they've
I think-
invested a lot of money.
No,
and
I
to
don't-
be in this
I-
position is not. I don't think it's a
not-
normal situation.
I don't think it's management, and I'm going to tell you why. Because look at the value proposition that Xbox has offered, and all of the good things that Xbox has done since Phil Spencer came in. Yeah, he's dropped the ball on the exclusive stuff and stuff like that. But if you really look at all the gamer friendly things that hardcore gamers love, they've hit on all cylinders. It's just that it goes back to what they said. They lost the worst generation in the worst possible way that you can lose, and that's where the market share and the mind share was lost. Xbox is not at the same level anymore as where PlayStation is. PlayStation ascended, and Xbox stayed behind, way too behind.
I was
That's
talking
the
to
problem.
my friend about this, and he said he kind of echoed the same thing you said. Like Xbox focused on all these other parts that were really good. My issue there is I don't know if that's what sells consoles or even like I don't think the average consumer cares about some of these things that they were pushing. To be honest, so that's number one. Number two,
Yep.
you can look at it like I look at the Xbox, like I look at the Xbox Series X launch, and I think to myself,
Mhm.
what did you have? Like you had was it 5, 7 years, whatever it was, to plan this launch, and you had nothing. And then I look at and I always ask this question: what's the next gen game you had that you made me decide to get a next gen console? And the first one that comes to mind is um, Redfall. That was the first game. That's 3 years later.
Yikes.
So
So the thing where I disagree on that, and the reason I disagree is because I feel like they changed it up with the Xbox Series console, and why I say that is look at PS4 to PS5, look at PS3 to PS4. Every time you get a new generation, you get new things, right? You throw away your old things and you get new things. Yeah, between 4 and 5, you got to keep your library, but even like the kings, the leaders of that generational environment, teach you what you get. Because look at what you got with from PS4 to 5, right? All of a sudden, the UI changes, different elements, different controllers, different left and right, right? To show you, hey, it's like buying a new car. You get a new infotainment system in it, right? Imagine getting a new car and then it's the same exact infotainment system, exactly the same that you're used to, right? That tells you something. It's not a generational jump from one to the other, right? I think I was talking to OBM over the weekend on the show about it, right? It really spoke to the fact that we're still in the Xbox One gen, right?
Yeah.
It's basically like you got a better version of the Blu-ray player you had before. It's newer. It went from 1440p to 4K, but basically it's the same device. Your infotainment system didn't change. Your UI elements didn't change. The exact same thing is what you got, just more powerful, right? Like I'm not saying it was a good thing. I'm not saying it was a right move for them. I actually criticize them for that because people want to see the new and shiny, right? But they really wanted to establish the idea that, hey, when you go buy a new Blu-ray player, do you need a new movie to justify its existence? No, you just go buy it because it does new things for your existing library and new libraries that will come, right? They changed the dynamics there.
Then why would somebody migrate, right? So, for example, with the PS5, like game-wise, they dropped Demon Souls remake. That was an exclusive. Then they dropped Ratchet and Clank remake. That was exclusive. Then they dropped Returnal, and PlayStation is dropping these exclusive next-gen games, which makes you want to get a next-gen console. So
sure, no. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying what they're doing is wrong. I'm saying that the two companies started doing different things at that time, right? Because PlayStation playing their position as they always play. Here are the exclusives. You buy my box, you buy my game. That has always been an established narrative, right?
Which they're the masters of.
They're the masters. Even Nintendo's doing that. You buy my outdated piece of crap box and you'll still be buying my games because my games are what sells, right? They both have been playing that position. All I'm saying is during the Xbox One gen, they stopped doing that model and they started doing the, hey, like Steam, like Valve, like a PC, right? You'll buy the newer version of the PC because you now know that it has far more capabilities than the older version, but it doesn't necessarily give you or incentivize you to change anything besides what you already have and the fact that it now runs better because of this new hardware. It's not how consoles work.
Right.
It's not how console gamers work, but that's how they started marketing it. Which, let me say we are where we are with that.
Let me say this, Ty, and then you can finish your thought there, and we're gonna get ready to go because we're about 2 hours in.
Let's get out of here.
Let me just say this: during the PS4 generation, what I think that Sony did was they were able to recapture the magic of the PS1 and PS2, where they ascended to a different level of branding. Okay, that was how they differentiated themselves from Nintendo. and from Xbox. The brand became as strong as Coca-Cola, as Nike. So they ascended. Nintendo did the same thing with the Switch, where they combined their business and they were able to ascend. That now you see them and they have theme parks. They're the Disney World of gaming. Xbox, what they're doing this generation by purchasing the ABKs of the world, by trying to train the consumer to think past console versus console. This is how they're building that ascending nature to their business that is going to take them, either it's going to take them or they're going to fail, but they're trying to ascend to the level that PlayStation and Nintendo have reached, where now it's hard to believe a world without them. That's why you don't question if they're going to bring out a next console. You don't question if games are exclusive. You don't question their moves. You trust them for the most part. You think that what they're doing is good. I think that Xbox is building the foundation this generation to ascend to that level that I'm talking about, where Steam is already there. They're made. Nintendo's there, they're made, and PlayStation's there, they're made. It's Xbox's turn to do the same. And will they fall flat on their face?
Real quick,
only time will tell.
Real quick, John, when you said that, you brought up a very interesting thing that I decided to search for. So that idea of branding and brand idea, right? The brand thought, right? So I did a real quick search of the global brands, 500 global brands ranked, and the most popular brands in the world, right? Pop in the world. And this is compared to 2024 to 2023 compared to 2024. Obviously, number one in 2023, number two in 2023 was Apple. Number one in 2024 is Apple. Number four in 2023 was Microsoft. Number two now is Microsoft, even though Microsoft has overtaken them as the most powerful company. They make more money, right? But for the purposes of our conversation, PlayStation, right? Where's PlayStation? PlayStation was in, let me see, PlayStation in 2023, they were at 249. That was in 2003. In 2024, they have fallen to 325 of the top 500. Okay. Xbox was 263, and they have stayed at 263. So between last year and this year, Sony has fallen and Xbox has stayed exactly where they are. So right now, if you look at the top brands, the top 500 brands as calculated by all the top brands in the world, Xbox is higher than PlayStation on that list.
I don't believe that.
Don't know how that happened. I'll show you. I'll show you the list right now.
Well, Ty, I know how that happened. When you have when you even have the PlayStation podcast talking about Xbox, that's how that happened.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But
the thing is, they're the company that are in the acquisition talks, the juicy acquisition talks. There's
a lot of conversation around them. Yeah.
They're building the foundation for they're becoming synonymous with gaming. Now, if we want to doubt that what they're doing is correct, sure, we can have that debate all day and that they're going to fail because Microsoft has failed at X amount of things. Oh, fine, I'll give them that. But you know what? I do give them credit for trying something different and trying something to be their own thing, which fits inside
and this. Just so you guys know, just so you know real quick, of the whole list, the lowest one that you probably would recognize is number 497, Armani. Number 494, Dunkin' Donuts. Number 492, Chipotle. So there you go. It's a big list and it has all the companies on it. But yeah,
so
great
conversation, guys, and we'll keep the conversation going on Discord, guys. Join our Discord. And Ty, thank you so much for joining us, man, and giving us over 2 hours of your time. Me and Kay always appreciate when anybody is listening on the chat or comes into our show, because dude, time is money, man. So we really do appreciate it. And Ty, let us know about your YouTube channel, man. What content you just released? What do you got coming up? Are you going to be guesting on any other show? Let us know, man. What's up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get a new PC, as I told you guys, and it's because this one I'm using, my DaVinci Resolve just won't work on it. The whole thing has crashed. It's kind of slowed me down to creating content. I've been using like a new editing software, which isn't as good. It's called CapCut. It's not as detailed, but I'm trying to I'm still trying to just work through it. Next video is probably gonna be a so I was watching Red Dead Redemption 2, just like some cutscenes, and I saw there's some emotional parts there, which kind of like sparked an idea of me making a video about what are like the not just story, but some of the most important moments in video game history. So from a story perspective. So I started writing a script on that. So I have some Mass Effect content, Red Dead Redemption on that. Destiny's on that as well. Spider-Man is there. So there's a good few games that have some heart wrenching content. So that's what I'm currently working on.
Don't forget Gears of War 2, dude. That Maria
Gears of War.
scene.
Even Halo's gonna be there too as well. Like there were some really good scenes there too as well. So I don't know when that's gonna be done because I want to just I really just want to get a new PC and just start editing as fast as possible. But yeah, that's gonna be my next video, and that'll be it. I also have some other content in relation to Xbox, some more analysis on that, and just video game characters analysis. I don't know if you guys saw what was the game with the Exodus? Yes, that game. Looked really good. I want to make a video on that too as well. So
yeah,
I have something else on that, and I'll maybe I'll drop that one really fast because that one is quite it's not as detailed as the storytelling one. So yeah, a few videos coming up.
I gotta give you some props because when you make a video and you go into detail like with the whole Mass Effect world, dude, I listen and I just sit back and just listen, and you've been very informative with that, man. So I recommend everybody visit Ty. His YouTube channel is going to be linked. And Ty, your final words, brother. What you got?
In relation to everything that we've been talking about, I think Xbox is doing the right thing for themselves, and I do respect them for saying, "Hey, listen, we're just going to go do our own thing." And we're going to have some people who are going to be angry. We're going to have some fans who are not going to be too pleased with what we're saying, what we're doing. But at the end of the day, we think they're going to come around because we have a plan. I would hope they have a plan. They talked about these 4 games being, data centric, and I actually believe them. I do believe that if it turns out that these 4 games are going to hurt the brand in any way, shape, or form, you won't be seeing games like Indiana and Starfield, whatever, going over. If these 4 games do well, I think you will start to see more games be ported. That will hurt Xbox console, but as we've established, I don't really care too much about that. But I do think Xbox as a platform will increase, will be much better, and that's probably what they care about. They're going to be at some point where they're looking at Tencent saying, "We want to be that. We want to be everywhere. We're not trying to play."
I disagree. Yeah,
and that's the main goal. And I think Sony's looking at that too now, saying, "Okay, we want to do that too as well."
Yeah, we need some of that too. Ty, thank you so much for being here with us, man. And Kay Asante, best co-host in the business / host when it's your duties, man. Tell us, Kay, what are you going to be up to this week? What other shows you're going to be appearing? Tell us if you already have something in mind for this weekend. And thank you so much, man, for giving us your thoughts and giving us those bars, man, that, usually sometimes we don't like to hear the voice of reason, but the voice of reason ends up being right more times than others. So go ahead, Kay.
No, well, first and foremost, I say thank you, Ty, for being here. Always a pleasure chopping up with you. We chat in the background, sometimes I pick your brain, find something interesting, you pick mine. We may not agree always on everything, but I appreciate the fact that even if I don't agree with your take, I appreciate that it's well thought out. I see where you're coming from with it because, and people have heard me say it on the show before, where you come from and what your perch in gaming is makes a lot of determinations, right? And where you are currently at, you come from things from a completely different perspective than I would because of your surroundings. And that's always super interesting to me. So I learn something every time we chat. So I appreciate you being here as usual, being part of the community, and we will definitely have you back. I will first and foremost say thanks to everybody who was here. I will be on the Longhouse podcast on this Thursday, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, they invited me out there, and I was like, why the hell not? Let me go represent with the brothers. So I will be there this Thursday. Hopefully, I'm gonna work the logistics because I'm technically supposed to be working as well. So I'll figure it out. But I'll be there this Thursday. Otherwise, you'll catch me this Saturday again on GCP where we will talk more and more ridiculousness as we do. Last week was pretty fun. We're planning on doing it again this weekend. So thank you guys so much for being here. And yeah, man, Mr. Latino Heat, where can people catch up with you?
Yeah, man, I'll be back here next week with UK. We'll be talking about some other topics that we come up with, man, and I'll just be gaming right now. I think I just finished the story because I literally just rolled credits on Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So we'll be doing
Nice.
a show about that soon because we're doing kind of like an Assassin's Creed run through that we said we're gonna do.
Oh, that means I gotta catch up. I gotta do that this week. Then I gotta catch
dude,
up. All right,
I'll give you some pointers so that grind becomes less stressful for you. So,
understood.
but yeah, man, playing Prince of Persia, still trying to beat that. I'm about, I think, 70-something% done with that, and I've kept my promise, K. Besides Assassin's Creed, a little bit of emulation here and there, and Prince of Persia, I have not played anything else. I've tried to stay away from day one purchases. That's why I didn't get bit by the Helldivers 2 bug, which it's not gonna happen.
I'm
You know what?
playing
I'll buy
Helldivers
it.
2. I'm playing Banishers.
No, you're
I'm
not playing Helldivers 2. That's the point.
Yeah, I was trying to play.
You know what
I was
I'm
looking
saying?
at the splash screen of Helldivers 2 for a couple hours. Yeah.
And that's $40, man. Come on, that's unacceptable.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
that's true.
Guys, thank you so much. We're at about 2 hours and a half. This is one of the longest shows we've had, but a very good conversation, guys. And it doesn't matter where you sit on the spectrum of your thoughts. Your thoughts matter. If you think this is not a good idea, then that's cool. You know, let's just keep the debate going. Let's keep the conversation going. Let Xbox know, give them feedback, tell them, hey, I think this is a mistake, whatever the case may be. Just do it in a respectful way, because as you saw, us three here, for the most part, we don't need to agree with every single thing, but we respect each other, let each other talk, give each other's thoughts, and just feed off of each other. And I think that's the way conversations are supposed to go. You know what I'm saying? So
Indeed,
thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Until next week, guys. Peace. Keep gaming, guys. Keep having fun. Hit us all up on Discord. Let's keep the conversation going. And Kay, hit that button, man.
Peace, everybody. Have a good week.